Chapter 890. On the large ship. The gourd adorable flew forward with all its might and quickly reached the bow of the ship. This place was indeed heavily guarded. Quite a few powerful evil creatures were patrolling the area. Some of them were even using spatial concealment techniques to prevent this place from being spied on. The gourd adorable went straight through all the checkpoints and continued forward. Wherever it went, none of the evil creatures noticed this jade gourd pendant at all. It kept flying towards the innermost part of the ship and finally caught up to the ship before it left. There weren't a lot of evil creatures on this ship, only the Lord of Total Distortion and his closest subordinates. The gourd adorable circled around the ship once before slowly hovering above the Lord of Total Distortion's head. It remembered Gu Qingshan's words well. I can't let it fall on someone else's head, so I can only hover. The Lord of Total Distortion didn't notice this at all. Move the ship, he ordered. The ship shot forward like an arrow, breaking through the waves and headed towards the wood bristles field. 1 hour later, the sea was filled with fog. The ship stopped and drifted along with the waves. Is it time yet? The Lord of Total Distortion asked. Weary here, one of his subordinates replied. They shouldn't be late. Very good. They're already here saying so. The Lord of Total Distortion stood up. He walked onto the deck and looked down into the sea. A figure slowly appeared from the depths of the sea. The figure was standing on the surface of the sea, walking step by step towards the ship. Weary, going forward, the Lord of Total Distortion ordered. The ship was getting closer and closer to the figure. As they got closer, the sea began to fill with fog. This fog seemed to contain some sort of miraculous power that made it impossible to see the figure's face clearly. Until they got close enough, they could clearly see countless wriggling flesh tentacles on the figure's body. These tentacles came from the sea, as if something was below the surface of the sea. The figure stared closely at the Lord of Total Distortion and began to speak with a strange tone. Little evil creature, have you prepared what we want? The Lord of Total Distortion replied. This is the last batch. After this batch is given to you, all evil creatures of the same species will have been traded. You better not be lying to us, the flesh tentacle figure said. The Lord of Total Distortion asked, We've already completed so many transactions. Why do you still suspect me? The flesh tentacle man replied, I'm confused. As long as we can grasp the mystery of the birth of all devils, the land will become our crops, and all devils will become our food. And you are facilitating all of this. I don't care about that. As long as you give me that key and do as the contract says and never disturb me again. Our deal is done, the Lord of Total Distortion replied. The flesh tentacle said, Even if all the devils go extinct, it won't matter. I don't care if they die. Very well. Give me the key, the Lord of Total Distortion said. The flesh tentacle man was silent for a moment, then said, You need to wait patiently. We have to count the number of devils on the ship first. We also need some time to record the species. Don't give me that. With your powers, confirming the goods would only take a single breath's worth of time. In the end, you just don't trust me, the Lord of Total Distortion scoffed. The flesh tentacle man remained silent. But the Lord of Total Distortion seemed to be wary of something, so he didn't try to urge him. A few moments later, the flesh tentacle man seemed to have confirmed something and spoke emotionally. You sold out all the evil creatures. From you, I finally understood one thing. The nature of the evil creatures is to destroy themselves. He threw out a shiny piece of metal. The piece of metal flew across the sky, about to fall towards the Lord of Total Distortion. The Lord of Total Distortion stared closely at the piece of metal, his eyes filled with madness and desire. The key of the seal. I finally got it. He spoke with a hoarse voice and hurriedly reached out to catch the piece of metal. In that split second, something that no one expected happened. A sha sound was heard. While the piece of metal was still in the air, it suddenly disappeared. Both the flesh tentacle man and the Lord of Total Distortion were shocked. At the same time, the jade gourd pendant flew away from the Lord of Total Distortion's head and quickly flew back. At the same time, on a giant ship that was extremely far away from this place, Gu Qingshan was sitting in her room, silently watching the kindling UI open up again. This time, the kindling UI had prepared itself for evolution. Kindling, what do we dash? While Gu Shan was talking, a shiny piece of metal fell into his hand. What is this? Wait a minute, what's going on? He froze, threw the piece of metal on the ground, and grabbed the Choween sword. He had set up numerous alarm and defensive formations in the room, but this piece of metal was still able to appear out of thin air and directly in his hand. This was completely out of Gu Shan's range of understanding. While he was on guard, he released his divine sense to observe the movements of the entire ship. Strange, everything is normal. Then, what exactly is going on with this thing? Gu Shan looked at the piece of metal again. This time, he noticed a new detail. Next to the piece of metal, a strand of spirit energy had gathered to form the shape of a gourd. This gourd-shaped spirit energy symbol seems to have some sort of concealment function. The piece of metal silently laid on the ground, but Gu Shan couldn't sense its existence at all. Gu Shan understood. This was the jade gourd pendant adorable's doing. On the other side, the Lord of Total Distortion shouted, "What is the meaning of this?" The flesh tentacle man spoke in a low voice. "Little fiend, we are fully complying with the contract, but something took the key just now." The Lord of Total Distortion took out a contract and carefully checked it. The black flame on the contract was still there. The contract was still valid, which meant the other party didn't break the contract. Bastard. Someone actually dared to steal my thing at this time. At this point, the flesh tentacle man spoke. "Little fiend, the entity that took the piece of key just now is far beyond our understanding. I've mobilized all of my underwater companions to search for it for you, but we still couldn't find the key." He walked forward step by step on the surface of the sea until he reached the Lord of Total Distortion. "Here, this is a replacement that we made. It can also be used." His fleshy tentacle hand gripped a piece of metal. The second piece of metal. At the same time, the seawater began to boil. Countless vast and dangerous presences rose to the sky. Countless ancient demonic sea creatures that were over 100 million years old had arrived. They were silently waiting for the entity that stole the key to show up again. The Lord of Total Distortion reached his hand out and grabbed the piece of metal. The flesh tentacle man waited for a while. Nothing happened. Slowly, he let go of her. The piece of metal returned to the Lord of Total Distortion's hand. Still, nothing happened. The flesh tentacle man stayed silent for a while before speaking. "Fine, perhaps that entity has already left. Now that you've obtained the key, we're done with the deal." The Lord of Total Distortion looked at the contract in his hand. Most of the contract's text had disappeared. All that was left was the non-interference clause. He sighed in relief and quickly put the piece of metal into his storage space. "Very well, although I don't know what kind of entity took that thing. Since it was able to hide from both of us, it's not something we can deal with now that I've got the key. My ship is yours," Roland said with a smile. "Deal." On the other side, the jade gourd pendant adorable went straight into Gu Shan's formation. "Shio, shio, 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 shio." It breathed heavily and boasted triumphantly. Gu Shan told it, "There's no rush. Speak slowly." But the jade pendant seemed to have realized something and became even more hurried. "Shio, shio, shio." It continued to speak for a long time. As it spoke, Gu Shan finally understood what happened earlier. "So we were all the Lord of Total Distortion's trading items. You did very well. I didn't think borrowing universe could be used like this regardless. A 100 million years old demonic sea creature isn't something we can deal with. So we need to leave this ship first." Putting the piece of metal in her inventory bag, tying the jade pendant around her waist, Gu Shan was about to leave. At this time, lines of blood-red text were jumping on the kindling. "UI, frowny face, jade pendant adorable has told you one of its abilities. You already know the 3 magical abilities of this jade pendant. Now complete description of this jade pendant as follows. Bygone era artifact, jade pendant. Adorable. This jade pendant was naturally formed, manifested from the bygone era's heaven and earth shown Shio. It is always invisible, only appearing when it is happy to see someone. This jade pendant has the thaumaturgy. Borrowing universe. Borrowing universe. When an item is in a state where no one is holding it, the jade pendant can borrow that item. Description. There are treasures in the universe. I will borrow them. This jade pendant has the thaumaturgy, 100 lanterns, 100 lanterns. Temporarily remove an ability from an enemy. After you use this ability once, the ability will disappear from your body. Description: a single lantern can illuminate 100 lanterns. Special note: thou art wondrous. I shall make it shine for thee. This jade pendant has the thaumaturgy, spotless jade. Spotless jade. Only you know what this jade does. Chapter 891. Gu Qingshan quickly left the room. A telepathic voice resounded in his mind. Xieqi ruler, I've noticed something wrong with the surrounding ocean. This was the silent ruler's voice. Gu Qingshan didn't stop and replied, Can you undo your covenant with the Lord of Total Distortion? I can, but I will have to pay a heavy price. Don't worry about the price for now. The Lord of Total Distortion is colluding with the 100-million-year-old ancient sea beast to sell us all out. If you can escape, run away now. What? The silent ruler exclaimed in shock. Gu Qingshan didn't say anything else. As he was about to leave, he abruptly stopped, because at this crucial moment, lines of blood-red text appeared on the kindling. UI, frowny face kindling has switched to evolution mode. Attention, the evolution quest has officially been issued. Quest description: the ancient demonic sea creatures are currently collecting the life mysteries of the evil creatures to research how to completely suppress them. They are close to succeeding. Quest objective: all evil creatures on the ship will be killed and made into specimens by the demonic sea creatures. Please do not leave during the entire process of making specimens. Maintain a concealed state and survive until the end so that kindling can extract the life mysteries and soul points of the evil creatures and complete this evolution. Quest reward: you will receive the download of World's Apocalypse Online. Origin: Gu Qingshan read through it all at once. At the same time, fog began to form above the ocean. The frigid fog quickly spread and enveloped the entire ship. The fog was so thick that it didn't scatter. Even if it was blown away by some evil creatures who could manipulate wind, it would quickly gather again and become more and more. The evil creatures' vision was getting worse and worse. They couldn't see anything outside of the ship. A desperate scream suddenly resounded from within the fog. This seemed to be the beginning. Scattered screams and screams began to resound around the ship. Around the ship, the evil creatures that were patrolling and catching fish were still floating in the water. The sound of battle could be heard. These sounds didn't last for too long and quickly returned to silence. The fog was getting thicker and thicker. Unprecedented noises suddenly resounded from the city-sized ship. Screams, explosions, shouts, and crashing noises all converged into one, shaking the sky. Gu Qingshan seemed to have sensed something and immediately activated ground shrink, disappearing from where she was. At the place where he stood, a fleshy tentacle drilled out from the ground and scattered in all directions. Gu Qingshan appeared on the other side of the ship, hovering in midair, using her inner sight to sense the scene in front of her. Countless black, fleshy tentacles were gradually occupying the ship. These fleshy tentacles wriggled madly and coiled around the devils' bodies, making them unable to struggle. The devils attacked with all their might, but it was useless against these flesh tentacles. Then, these demons let out a blood-curdling scream, and their bodies gradually shriveled up. While they were still alive, all of their flesh and bones were sucked away by the flesh tentacles, leaving only their skin behind. The excruciating pain was unbearable even for the toughest of devils. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but frown. Although he had seen many cruel punishments, the scene in front of him had long surpassed the scope of punishment. Suddenly, he saw a running demon waving a kitchen knife while running away in a panic. Tisish, Gu Qingshan sighed helplessly. This was a chef on the ship that he was acquainted with. The two of them had exchanged a lot of cooking experiences. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then released several dozen flying swords to help the chef escape. But more and more flesh tentacles were appearing on the ship. At this rate, Gu Qingshan wouldn't be able to protect him. Kindling, will all the evil creatures on this ship die? He asked. Kindling replied, Yes, the demonic sea creatures only need a sample of the evil creatures to conduct research. During the process of making the sample, kindling will automatically collect soul points. Please do not worry about soul points. Please do your best to survive. After saying that, kindling went silent. It seemed to be hurriedly doing something. On kindling, SUI, Gu Shan's soul points were continuously increasing. At the same time, another notification appeared on the UI, frowny face, currently collecting and analyzing the corresponding mysteries of life's origin. Gu Shan looked around. More and more evil creatures were being caught by the flesh tentacles. The city-sized ship was carrying several million evil creatures, but under the frenzied capture of the flesh tentacles, the evil creatures were dying in large numbers. Correspondingly, the soul points value on kindling, his UI, was increasing. It had already broken through 900,000 and was steadily approaching 1 million. Gu Shan didn't appear to be happy at all. This soul points would be used by kindling to evolve, and this kind of plundering method of soul points absorption still made him feel a bit uncomfortable. The flesh tentacles were absorbing the evil creature's flesh, while the Demon King Order was absorbing the evil creature's soul power. I just don't need to do anything, Gu Shan muttered. Desperate screams and death continued to spread. The entire ship had turned into a living hell on the sea. However, as Gu Shan stood still, a layer of black fog appeared from his armor and enveloped him. Very quickly, the black fog and Gu Shan both disappeared into the void of space. Embrace of black fog. When you stand still, the black fog will conceal your whereabouts. Only enemies 3 realms higher than you will be able to detect you. At this point, Gu Shan was already a Void Wanderer realm cultivator. Only enemies at Paragon realm or higher would be able to detect his whereabouts. With that in mind, the owner of these flesh tentacles should be a 3,000 worlds realm cultivator. Perhaps close to Paragon realm, but not quite there yet. In both the Primordial Heaven realm and Primordial Wraith realm, this would be a very powerful existence. Gu Shan silently pondered. At a certain moment, he suddenly moved his body slightly. The black fog scattered. Gu Shan's figure appeared from the void of space. Kindling immediately noticed and quickly warned him, frowny face, Your Excellency, please continue to conceal your whereabouts to avoid dying here. Gu Shan shook his head. It's fine at this point. A few flesh tentacles had already noticed Gu Shan's appearance. The flesh tentacles stood up from the ground and rushed towards him. With a single thought from Gu Shan, countless flying swords appeared from the void of space and gave off sharp sword chi. The flying swords surrounded the flesh tentacles. All the flesh tentacles were sliced into tiny pieces. To the current me, this thing really isn't that powerful, Gu Shan muttered. A sword cultivator had always been a powerful attacker. Not to mention, he was already a Void Wanderer realm cultivator. Using Void Wanderer realm spirit energy to channel a sword seal was more than enough to create a powerful attack. Regardless of whether it was among humans or as an evil creature, the current Gu Shan could be considered one of the most powerful people in the world. Even by the standards of the future, he was already a Lord-class existence. In the air, as soon as the flesh tentacles were cut, the other flesh tentacles reacted. Countless flesh tentacles swarmed towards Gu Shan in a frenzy. Gu Shan stood still. When all the flesh tentacles were about to wrap around his body, he suddenly disappeared from the void of space. A wooden table appeared in the void of space where he stood. With a single touch of the flesh tentacles, the entire wooden table collapsed. The flesh tentacles immediately noticed that something wasn't right, so they began to frantically search the air. But they couldn't find that powerful guy no matter how hard they tried. Gu Shan was already standing on the other side of the ship, hiding in a secluded corner. The black mist spread out from his armor and disappeared together with him. Kindling's voice suddenly came. Frowny face, what are you doing, sir? This is very dangerous. If you get caught by those flesh tentacles, even I won't be able to save you. Please be careful. Don't play around with your own safety. Gu Shan smiled and replied, 2 members of the chef team have already died. These guys are very skilled. The seafood they make is quite unique. Kindling replied. Please be patient. The evolution will require a total of 2 million soul points. It will be completed in about 15 minutes, so all I need to do is stand still. That is correct. Boom. An intense sound of explosions resounded in the sky. Gu Qingshan looked up, only to see that the silent ruler was leading a few of the most powerful evil creatures to fight against the endless flesh tentacles in the sky. But the silent ruler's strength couldn't even compare to Gu Qingshan before she evolved, so she couldn't last too long against the endless flesh tentacles. Gu Qingshan silently watched as these evil creatures struggled in the sky. Kindling, I actually have a suggestion. He finally spoke up. You want to save these evil creatures? Kindling sharply asked. No, the Lord of Total Distortion sold me to the demonic sea creatures like a can of food. That really pissed me off, Gu Qingshan continued. As for saving these evil creatures, I've got to know them quite well recently, so I don't like it when I see some of my friends die in front of me. Kindling sternly replied, Your Excellency, please do not do anything pointless. Not only will that cause Your Excellency to lose your life, the Order will also suffer a heavy blow. It's not what you think, Gu Qingshan slowly replied. What I mean is, are you really satisfied with just 2 million soul points? If I can get more soul points, would you need it? With your current strength, you cannot do that, Kindling replied. Gu Qingshan continued. Furthermore, I can see that you're collecting the life mysteries of the evil creatures. But what about the demonic sea creatures? They are monsters that can live for over 100 million years. The mysteries on their bodies are most likely worth collecting. That's true. But we can't win against the demonic sea creatures, nor can we collect their life mysteries, Kindling replied. You're wrong. I'm wrong? Gu Qingshan commented. That's right. As the Demon King order, your steps are too small and too cautious. Kindling said nothing. This was the first time someone had criticized it like that after so many years. It began to seriously collect the corresponding information. Gu Qingshan's voice became gentle and continued. Trust me, leave the rest to me. I guarantee we'll get a great harvest, and I'll even get my revenge. What will we get? Soul points. The life mysteries of a 100-million-year-old demonic sea creature. Are you sure you could do that? Kindling asked. Of course, I want to become the Demon King of the Order. If I can't even do that, I might as well die right now, Gu Qingshan answered without hesitation. Kindling went silent for a bit, seemingly making a decision. What Gu Qingshan said was very attractive to it. Very well, Kindling finally replied. I will fully support your decision. I hope you'll be able to bring a large amount of soul points and the life mysteries of the demonic sea creatures in the sky. The evil creatures who were struggling to hold on felt their spirits lifted. The Xieqi ruler had also joined the battle. This was a powerful evil ruler with outstanding combat prowess. Sure enough, as soon as it entered the battlefield, countless flying swords shot out and cut off a large number of its flesh tentacles. All the evil creatures on the ship that were still alive quickly gathered around the Xieqi ruler. The silent ruler flew over and told Gu Qingshan, The entire space around us has been sealed. We can't go any further than 30 miles away from the ship. She silently used telepathy and silently told Gu Qingshan, frowny face, I've checked the area below the sea. There are only 100-million-year-old demonic sea creatures. Gu Qingshan quickly asked, Can we win against 100-million-year-old demonic sea creatures? The silent ruler replied, You must be joking. Once a demonic sea creature's lifespan exceeds 100 million years, they would at least be at the level of an evil ruler, but most of them would be at the same level as the Lord of Total Distortion, or even beyond. Gu Qingshan nodded and said nothing. After being with the Lord of Total Distortion for so long, he had a general understanding of the other party's strength. The Lord of Total Distortion had probably reached the peak of the 3,000 Worlds realm. Combined with his mystic-type skills, he could easily fight against a Paragon realm early-stage enemy. The silent ruler spoke in despair. Seems like we won't be able to escape this time. We're all going to die here. Gu Qingshan nodded and casually replied, That's right. That's why I need your help. While controlling her flying swords to fight, Gu Qingshan loudly spoke. That's right. Take out your covenants and have all the evil creatures on our side sign a covenant to not attack me during the chaos. The silent ruler froze. She quickly understood. It seems this Xie ruler has an extremely powerful technique that he's about to unleash, one that can change the entire situation. But normally speaking, this type of technique that far surpasses the evil creature's own strength would cause various side effects. At that time, the Xie ruler would probably become temporarily weakened. The Xie ruler said that most likely because he was afraid that someone would ambush him from behind. After all, this had happened too many times among the evil creatures. The Xie ruler loudly voiced his worries. Very quickly, the other evil creatures also understood after thinking for a bit. Everyone signed a contract as quickly as possible. If there really was a life-saving technique, they would be more than happy for the Xie ruler to use it right away. All right, those who are still alive have signed. No one will be able to attack you. Please use your technique. The silent ruler gave a scroll to Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan glanced at it briefly before putting the scroll away. I don't have any techniques that I can use, but I'm feeling a bit annoyed today. So, I want to have a good fight. His voice resounded among the remaining evil creatures. The silent ruler froze and looked at Gu Qingshan, only to see a drop of blood that gave off a frigid presence silently hovering in Gu Qingshan's hand. Gu Qingshan held this drop of blood. Chapter 892. The blue flames danced continuously. Waves of coldness swept out in all directions like a tide. Glittering and translucent ice crystals began to form around the Xie Fiend King's body, giving off a colorful glow under the light. A divine and solemn aura spread out from his body. In truth, back when she killed the god of frost and chill, Gu Qingshan had hidden his corpse in her inventory bag. It couldn't be helped. At that time, all the divinities gathered in the cold jade forest to investigate the divine king's death. If Gu Qingshan did not hide the god of frost and chill's body properly, and the god race found out about it, then everything would be ruined. Who would have thought that at this moment, the corpse of the god of frost and chill could actually play a new role? You. What are you? The Silent Lord looked at him and was momentarily stunned by this strange scene. Sensing Gu Qingshan's world origin, which was composed entirely of frost's spiritual energy, all the devils fell silent. Frost, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Ice was the unique form of the water spirit, and it was the power of the 5 main elements. This power clearly did not belong to this world. Gu Qingshan spoke up. This is my ultimate technique. I can borrow the power of another world. I hope that no one will panic. Is it the primordial heaven realm? The silent ruler asked. Correct. The Silent Lord was skeptical, but there was no other way to explain the current situation. Besides, all the devils, including her, had signed the contract. They couldn't attack the Xie Fiend King. As soon as Gu Qingshan finished speaking, she looked at the kindling interface. Lines of blood-red text had already appeared. Frowny face, you've spent 900,000 soul points to activate. Mystery of all beings equal, currently transforming into the god of frost and chill. Because you extracted a huge amount of soul points, the evolution of the order had no choice but to temporarily stop. Sir Envoy of Condemnation, I hope you're right. After Gu Qingshan finished reading, these blood-red words completely disappeared. Gu Qingshan smiled and said in her heart, don't worry. What happens next is very simple. His pitch-black Xie Fiend skin faded away, revealing his human face. But what was different from the human race was that the majestic aura on his body was gradually becoming more and more intense. Kindling said, next, you'll have to face the attacks of several dozen 100-million-year-old demonic sea beasts. If this is considered easy, then I don't know what is difficult. You've seen too little. Gu Qingshan explained, actually the easiest thing to do is to fight. Because as long as you think it through, you can fight. All you need to do is wait to accept whether you win or lose. What is more difficult? Kindling asked. It was going to remember what the other person said, so that it wouldn't look so stupid. Gu Shan said, "There are many things in this world that are much more difficult than fighting, such as cooking delicious food, finding a job to make a living, pursuing the girl you love, feeding your family, returning to the past. Each of them is more difficult. So the thing I'm least afraid of is fighting." He pulled out the Divine King's frost staff from the void and pointed it downwards. Godly King skill, Frost Century. This was the full-powered attack of a paragon deity king. Ding, ding, dang, dang, ding, dang, dang. The fog shrouding the entire ship suddenly turned into pieces of shattered ice and fell onto the ship. The entire world became clear to see. Following that, the surging ocean surface was quickly frozen by a thick layer of ice. Under the invisible ocean surface, the solid layer of ice quickly spread and froze the ocean several million meters deep at a speed that the naked eye couldn't follow. This freezing speed was faster than most of the demonic sea creatures could react. The flesh tentacles that extended all the way to the ship were frozen, unable to move at all. Gu Shan held the Chao Yin sword in her hand and swung it. Dash arc, break! He angrily roared. Chao Yin thaumaturgy. Even a sea of suffering can pass. The soul points value on the kindling. UI suddenly jumped and fell to the bottom. The entire frozen ocean had accepted the will of Chao Yin and began to self-destruct. A deafening sound that was even more intense than an earthquake resounded in every direction. Countless demonic sea creatures hiding in the ocean were first frozen, then ripped to shreds by the great power of the ocean as it broke apart. Shah, the soul points bar that was almost empty on the kindling. UI was suddenly filled up. Because the soul points bar couldn't display the exact soul points value anymore, a number appeared below the soul points bar to show the amount of soul points that had been collected. The number was 370,000, a total of 3.7 million. Kindling immediately spoke. Immense soul points. A life form filled with the secrets of 100 million years. Hurry, take this chance to kill a few more. There was a strong sense of urgency in its tone. The entire chaos demonic sea was already filled with various chaotic powers, combined with the power generated by the movement of the ocean several million meters wide. Even 100 million years old demonic sea creature wouldn't be able to properly deal with it. The weaker ones were killed right away. The remaining ones were all extremely powerful demonic sea creatures. Taking advantage of the fact that they haven't fully recovered, killing a few more of them was indeed the best choice. But as soon as the ocean exploded, Gu Shan was nowhere to be seen. No one knew where he was hiding. No one knew whether or not he had left or not. The trembling of the ocean slowly slowed down. Numerous gigantic figures stood up from the frozen ocean. Their bodies blocked out the sky, blocking out everyone's sight. An eerie incantation came from their mouths, then abruptly raised. The incantation was activated. Boom! The surface of the sea, which had already turned into frost, was completely restored to seawater. This was the full power of all the 100 million year old demonic sea creatures. They needed seawater. The ocean was their home ground to rest and fight. That bastard, where is he? A furious voice resounded through the air. The surviving 100 million year old demonic sea creatures all tried their best to find the god of frost and chill. They couldn't find anything. Gu Shan was currently in the Divine King form, a Paragon Realm peak stage cultivator. Then, to get rid of his embrace of black fog, she would need to be at least 3 realms higher to reach the Summer Lord realm. This was the power of the Demon King armor. The demonic sea creatures all unleashed their spells and abilities in an attempt to find Gu Shan. But after a bit of effort, they still failed. "I can't find him," one of the demonic sea creatures said. "I can't find him either," another demonic sea creature said. "That detestable bastard, he killed so many of our comrades we've already sealed off the space around us, which means he's still here." As soon as that was asked, the demonic sea creatures all tensed up. At this point, a heavy and dignified voice resounded from among the demonic sea creatures. "That's not necessarily the case. With how powerful he is, He might have already left through some unique means. All the demonic sea creatures turned to the demonic sea creature that spoke. This was a demonic sea creature that wasn't too large in size. While being heavily guarded by the demonic sea creatures, it had been calmly observing its surroundings. Its body was covered in fleshy tentacles. When it was thinking, these fleshy tentacles kept wriggling. However, quite a few of its tentacles were broken. It was also this demonic sea creature that killed the evil creatures on the ship. The jade gourd pendant Adorable said that the demonic sea creatures were collecting the life mysteries of the evil creatures. It seems this demonic sea creature was the one responsible for this. Then what do we do now? One of the demonic sea creatures asked. The demonic sea creature that was moving its tentacles replied, "Follow the original plan, kill all the evil creatures, and accomplish our goal. First, all of you need to protect me, well, to avoid any accidents," the demonic sea creatures loudly replied. Understood at the same time. Inside a certain room on the ship, Gu Shan opened his eyes. No matter how much kindling urged him, he didn't make a move. He silently waited, waiting to see the demonic sea creature's reaction. And now, the leader of these demonic sea creatures had been exposed. During a battle, if you can kill the enemy's leader first, it would naturally cause the enemy's army to fall into chaos. Not just in war, but in other situations as well. So the time to act had finally arrived. The Frost Divine Staff silently appeared from the void of space and landed in his hand. Faint killing intent continuously flowed from Gu Shan's body. He disappeared from the room. A second later, high up in the sky, a small sprite of frost abruptly manifested, the god of frost and chill. As soon as he appeared, he unleashed an attack downwards. Frost Divine Skill, Silent Seal. This was the ultimate skill that the Golden Flame divinity once mentioned, the god of frost and chill's most powerful Frost Divine Skill. A faint white mist fell onto the flesh tentacle monster's body. All the demonic sea creatures immediately noticed that something was amiss. They roared furiously and charged forward. A portion of the demonic sea creatures protected the flesh tentacle monster to prevent it from being attacked a second time. The other portion of the demonic sea creatures unleashed their most powerful attack towards the divine king in the sky. Numerous blurred images howled as they shot towards the sky. Gu Shan looked down and lightly smiled. Silent Seal was a top-level frost power. Not only could it freeze the enemy's body, but could also freeze the enemy's soul and thought process. At this point, the enemy that was hit by Silent Seal would be in their most fragile state, unable to defend against any attack, be it their body or soul. Furthermore, due to the unique properties of frost, the enemy would be easily crushed. But the demonic sea creatures reacted quickly, protecting the flesh tentacle monster while also attacking the sky. Gu Shan didn't have a chance to attack a second time. However, this situation wasn't much to him. Gu Shan let go of the Frost Divine Staff and drew the Chao Yin sword. At this point, the first attack had already arrived in front of him. Gu Shan disappeared. Divine Skill, Shadow Shift. The flesh tentacle monster abruptly appeared where Gu Shan originally stood. Countless powerful spells just so happened to strike its body. Even if it was in perfect condition, it wouldn't be able to stop the full-powered attacks of so many demonic sea creatures, not to mention it was currently sealed in ice. Bam! A clear sound of impact resounded from afar. The flesh tentacle monster was directly crushed to pieces, turning into a blizzard that rained down from the sky. The demonic sea creatures were all stunned. The evil creatures that were watching were also stunned. What exactly is going on? Why did this happen? What else is going to happen next? They didn't have time to think about these questions, because Gu Shan was already standing in the middle of the countless demonic sea creatures. He raised the Chao Yin sword. Two large wings of swords manifested behind his back. Ghastly ice and fierce sword intent mixed together, and the surrounding space was sliced into numerous black rifts. Chapter 893. From the very start, the battle was overwhelming. The entire ocean was completely frozen, from the surface to the bottom of the ocean over 1 million meters, all the seawater was frozen solid. Following that, like an earthquake, the entire ocean was shattered. The demonic sea creatures had lived in the ocean for over 100 million years, but they had never seen the ocean turn into such a terrifying state. Several weaker demonic sea creatures were instantly torn apart by the power of the chaos demonic sea and lost their lives. The more powerful demonic sea creatures were also wounded quite badly. But that wasn't all. Who would have thought the leader who was in charge of commanding and making the evil creature specimen would also be killed? And he died at the hands of his own people. Although this took a long time to describe, it actually happened without any warning, so there was no time for them to do anything about it. The demonic sea creatures only had time to react. More precisely, they didn't know what happened at all. They couldn't be blamed for this. Originally, they only came here to happily harvest the evil creatures' lives. Who would have thought a heavenly god would be hiding among the evil creatures? Gu Qingshan didn't intend to stop. He switched places with the flesh-beard sea monster and appeared in the middle of the countless demonic sea creatures. His figure was as small as a speck of dust. But as a speck of dust, he was here to take their lives. The sword-infused wind kicked up. The Tai Sword Array was unleashed by a Paragon Realm Peak Stage level elemental spirit energy, increasing its power countless times over. The two 100-million-year-old demonic sea creatures just stood there blankly as their bodies were blown away by the sword-infused wind, turning into a rain of blood. The other demonic sea creatures finally reacted. They were powerful sea creatures that had existed for over 100 million years. Even though they were caught off guard, they still managed to unleash their terrifying power in the face of death. 5 demonic sea creatures unleashed their techniques at Gu Qingshan at the same time. The level of their techniques wasn't particularly high, and their techniques weren't particularly exquisite either. But their techniques contained unparalleled destructive power. Clusters of seawater manifested into colorful pillars of light that shot straight towards Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan switched places with one of the demonic sea creatures. But there were too many demonic sea creatures. These ancient entities had already regained their senses and understood the purpose of Gu Qingshan's attack. As soon as Gu Qingshan appeared, the other demonic sea creatures that were already prepared immediately attacked. Boom! A beautiful spell exploded, sending Gu Qingshan flying. Bah! Gu Qingshan spat out a mouthful of blood and murmured, "What a quick reaction." The armor on his body took the brunt of the attack and shattered into pieces. In the next second, the entire black fog armor was repaired by an invisible force, becoming as bright as new. This was the Demon King armor's primary armor. As long as one was willing to pay a large amount of soul force, it would possess the ability to repair itself. Gu Qingshan didn't have anything else right now, but she had soul power. The demonic sea creatures wanted to follow up with another attack, but fortunately, all the sword winds in the sword formation gathered and blocked the first wave of attacks. Gu Qingshan only had time to stabilize herself before the second wave of attacks arrived. Countless spells rained down on him. There were simply too many demonic sea creatures. The ones that were able to survive until now were at least at the peak of 3,000 Worlds Realm. Some of them had even reached Paragon Realm early stage. Even if Gu Qingshan turned into the Divine King, he wouldn't be able to completely stop the attacks of dozens of enemies at once. While dodging, he was also looking for a chance to counterattack, sometimes even taking a spell head-on to kill an enemy. The black fog armor continued to wrap around him, taking the majority of the attacks for him. After a while, Gu Qingshan suddenly noticed that something wasn't right. Compared to before, the demonic sea creature's attacks had decreased in intensity. Gu Qingshan felt a lot more relaxed, but a bit of doubt appeared in his mind. In a battle of life and death like this, the attacks would only become stronger and stronger, unless the other party was doing something else. What are the demonic sea creatures doing? Gu Qingshan glanced around. There were still dozens of demonic sea creatures chasing after him, trying to fight him. But they seemed to be blocking Gu Qingshan's way. Gu Qingshan's inner sight moved slightly and saw the scene at the farthest part of the ocean. 7 to 8 demonic sea creatures were gathered together, chanting an incantation at the same time. In their hands, a dark bolt of lightning flickered in and out of existence. 2 particularly powerful demonic sea creatures were blocking the sword-infused wind for them. The sea creatures were chanting their incantations faster and faster. They were about to succeed. Gu Qingshan felt a sense of uneasiness. So that's what it was. A total of 800 million years old demonic sea creatures have been gathering their power for a long time. This was definitely a powerful combination attack technique. But even though Gu Qingshan noticed this, there wasn't enough time. A large group of demonic sea creatures rushed forward to stop him. On the other side of the ocean, more and more demonic sea creatures were carefully defending their 8 incantation companions. They were wary of Gu Qingshan's shadow shift. There wasn't enough time. Adorable, Gu Qingshan shouted. Xiao Xiao. Understood. The jade gourd pendant appeared from the void of space and aimed the mouth of the gourd at the hands of the demonic sea creatures. Xiao Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao. Your moves are admirable. Let me show them to you. As the other party finished casting the spell, the jade gourd pendant rang out. Gu Qingshan instantly felt the power of some sort of spell being infused into his body, as if he could unleash this spell at any time. Without hesitation, he unleashed this spell at the demonic sea creatures. A gray bolt of lightning flashed in the void of space for a split second. Whether it was the demonic sea creature or Gu Qingshan, neither of them could stop the attack in time. The demonic sea creatures were struck by the gray lightning. A large net of lightning appeared out of nowhere and tightly wrapped around the demonic sea creatures. They were stunned. What? Isn't this the summoning spell we were about to unleash? Why? Thinking about the consequences of this spell, the demonic sea creatures panicked and struggled. But it was useless. The gray net of lightning quickly tightened. Gu Qingshan's eyes twitched. He saw 7 to 8 sharp spikes appearing out of nowhere and piercing into the demonic sea creatures' bodies. With just a light stab, the demonic sea creatures immediately went limp and couldn't move. A cave made entirely of gray lightning appeared in the void of space. A chilling aura could be felt coming from the lightning cave. The evil creatures on the ship, the demonic sea creatures, and even Gu Qingshan, who had transformed into the god of frost and chill, were all completely frozen in front of this terrifying aura. Gu Qingshan bit the tip of his tongue. Under the stimulation of the pain, he slowly regained his ability to move. As Gu Qingshan stared closely at the cave made of gray lightning, his heartbeat became faster and faster. His vigilance was raised to the max. This was an instinctive reaction of any living being when facing a superior predator, one that could only be restrained but couldn't be completely cut off. The eternal true god, Soul Shrieker? Gu Qingshan silently thought. No, not it. But this cave made of gray lightning was filled with an aura that wasn't any weaker than the Soul Shrieker. Under everyone's gazes, the unconscious demonic sea creatures were dragged into the cave by the net of gray lightning. Their bodies were so large and heavy that a pair of brightly colored chelicerae with bristles all over them appeared from the void of space, gently pulling the net backwards. Gu Qingshan looked at the chelicerae. This definitely isn't the Soul Shrieker, nor is it the legendary slumbering magic dragon. But the power this monster exuded was too terrifying. It wasn't any weaker than the Soul Shrieker. I didn't think the demonic sea creatures would be able to summon such a powerful entity. But what kind of monster is this? Almost instantly, 7 to 8 demonic sea creatures that had lived for over 100 million years were dragged to the mouth of the cave. All of a sudden, a jet-black hand reached out from the cave made of gray lightning and caught the net. This hand was missing a finger, but it didn't affect its movements. Gu Qingshan opened her eyes wide. This hand. Gu Qingshan immediately recalled the finger she saw at the bottom floor of the lava cathedral. That finger was bound by several hundred chains, unable to move at all. The finger was exactly the same as the other fingers on the jet black hand. How unexpected. The finger that the cathedral was suppressing came from this unknown monster. The net and its prey were pulled into the gray cave by the black hand. The cave made of gray lightning disappeared from midair. The lightning slowly dimmed, flickered a few times in the void of space before disappearing without a trace. The surface of the ocean was completely silent. All of a sudden, the demonic sea creatures shrieked in fear and fled in every direction. They're not fighting anymore. Don't be ridiculous. This is the ultimate summoning technique, yet it was actually used on me. There's no way I can survive this. Gu Qingshan didn't pursue them. What happened just now was too shocking. If she hadn't noticed some sort of ominous omen, if she hadn't noticed the movements of the demonic sea creatures in time, if the jade gourd pendant wasn't so powerful. Chapter 894. The demonic sea creatures scattered. If it was just a single divinity, they might still be able to continue fighting, but as soon as the gray lightning tunnel appeared, they lost all will to fight. Just like that, the battle ended hastily and anticlimactic. Gu Qingshan also calmed down a bit. It's all thanks to you. Gu Qingshan smiled at the jade gourd pendant adorable. The gourd pendant adorable weakly replied, Shio. I can't anymore, what? What happened to you? Gu Qingshan immediately asked. Shio. That summoning technique was too powerful, and I used too much of my ability before, so I'm going to die? Gu Qingshan's heart skipped a beat and loudly asked, What happened? Why are you going to die? How can I save you? Shio. If I use my ability 3 times in a row, I'll die. Gu Qingshan was surprised. The gourd pendant adorable stole the piece of metal, then returned to fight alongside me, even actively retaliating against the demonic sea creatures several times. Indeed, it had already used its ability countless times. Gu Qingshan hurriedly said, Why didn't you tell me earlier? If I knew, I wouldn't have let you participate in the battle. Shio. It's fine. I'm willing to fight, even if it means death. Gu Qingshan was completely at a loss for what to do. First the earth sword, now the gourd pendant. Is there really nothing I can do to save you? He spoke in a low voice. Adorable, there must be a way to save you. Tell me Shio. Death is the only way to go after I die. Take my gourd seed and infuse it with your soul points, perhaps. Goodbye, farewell, Gu Qingshan. After saying so, the jade gourd pendant no longer showed any signs of life. The colorful spiritual light that enveloped its body completely disappeared. With a crack, the jade pendant broke apart, turned into dust, and scattered in the wind. Gu Qingshan was stunned. After waiting for such a long time and knowing each other for such a short time, it had completely disappeared. He had thought that it was a very powerful treasure. Who knew that it had long since been an arrow at the end of its flight, but it didn't say anything all this time, stubbornly holding on and fighting. Gu Qingshan's heart slowly sank, unable to speak for a long time. Suddenly, Gu Qingshan noticed that there was a calabash seed in his hand. Take my gourd seed and pour your soul force into it. Maybe, recalling the gourd adorable's words, Gu Qingshan felt a glimmer of hope. He carefully held the gourd seed and glanced at the kindling UI. At this point, his soul points had already reached more than 7 million. Without any hesitation, Gu Qingshan madly poured soul points into the gourd seed. One breath at a time, 100,000 soul points had been completely infused. There was another crisp pa sound. The gourd seeds were gone. In its place was a jade gourd pendant. This jade gourd pendant was exactly the same as the jade pendant adorable. It was trembling nonstop as if it was trying to hold back its emotions. Finally, it could not hold it in anymore. Shio. Ah, you really should have seen your expression just now. It was so funny. The jade gourd pendant let out a joyful sound. Gu Qingshan, you didn't die? Gu Qingshan glared at it and asked. The jade gourd pendant explained. Whenever I use my ability 3 times in a row, I'll be caught by all the origin laws of the current world and erased once? Why is that? Gu Shan asked. Several 100 million years ago, someone once discussed this question. After thinking about it from another perspective, they concluded that the origin laws of the current world were correct, the jade gourd pendant replied. But why are you still alive? Gu Shan doubtfully asked. I used this method to deceive the laws of the current world to continue to live. Did you get deceived as well? The jade gourd pendant shook a bit in the air as it spoke. Gu Shan sighed deeply, feeling a bit ashamed. That's right. I can occasionally deceive others, I won't deny that. But look at yourself. Even my treasure artifacts can deceive the laws of the current world. Compared to that, what do I have? Seems like I still have a lot to learn. Since the gourd is fine, Gu Shan didn't waste any more words with it. He flew back to the ship, entered the magma cathedral, and went all the way to the deepest part of the cathedral. Hundreds of thin chains were scattered all over the place. The giant black finger that was originally bound had already disappeared without a trace. Sure enough, the Lord of Total Distortion took this mysterious finger with him. What exactly is he trying to do? Gu Shan left the ship with many questions in mind. He swung the scepter downwards. The entire ship was completely frozen, turning into an iceberg drifting on the sea. All the evil creatures were frozen inside the ice, unable to move. The Chao Yin sword vibrated. An ocean current slowly rose from the water. The ocean current carried the giant iceberg back to where it came from. Magic Dragon's fingernail was still hanging on the frozen ship, and there weren't any 100-million-year-old demonic sea creatures on the way back, so this slow journey should be able to arrive safely. In the worst-case scenario, if it ran into any monsters that weren't afraid of Magic Dragon's bloodline, it would first need to break through the iceberg protecting the ship. As soon as the iceberg collapses, the evil creatures would awaken. At that time, who would live and who would die would depend on the strength of both sides. After doing that, Gu Shan took out a piece of metal. Last time, he was startled by the sudden appearance of this piece of metal, so he quickly threw it away. Now, Gu Shan wanted to take a good look at this thing. This was the jade gourd pendant adorable that he stole from the Lord of Total Distortion's deal with the demonic sea creatures. Recalling the black finger that the Lord of Total Distortion obtained, as well as his deal with the demonic sea creatures, Gu Shan felt like she could faintly guess what the other party was planning. The transaction this time was probably related to that monster. Gu Shan held the piece of metal in her hand and carefully observed it. This was an extremely ancient piece of metal. The passage of time had left many old marks on its surface. The entire piece of metal was a long and thin triangular shape. The patterns and words carved on it were no longer visible. Only a few holes and grooves were still intact. As soon as Gu Shan took out the piece of metal, lines of blood-red text appeared on the kindling UI. Key of the seal. Description: this key can open a secret passage. Description: all the secret passages leading to the eternal abyss have been sealed, but one of them had been passed on with the key of the passage. After Gu Shan read through it, the blood-red text on the UI completely disappeared. Kindling, S voice suddenly came. Your Excellency, I suggest that you do not head to that place. Why not? Gu Shan asked. Kindling replied. The eternal abyss is boundless. Even the soul shrieker is nothing but a type of monster within the abyss. Once you enter, there is no telling what will happen. Are you worried that I'll be eaten by a monster? Gu Shan asked. No, I'm not worried about that. After all, you're too weak. The amount of energy a monster needs to consume to open their mouth is more than what they would gain from eating you. It's not worth it. They wouldn't even bother to eat you. Kindling replied. Gu Shan silently thought for a while before understanding what it meant. That's a bit of a blow to my confidence. Gu Shan calmed herself down and asked, Then why don't you suggest that I go? Chapter 895. Several 10,000 years ago. A fragment of a parallel world. Gu Shan was currently in the primordial Wraith Realm's Chaos Demonic Sea, holding the key of the seal in her hand while discussing with Kindling whether or not to go to the Eternal Abyss. At the same time that he was doing that, several 10,000 years later, The Strife Zones. A certain world filled with endless sin. A young man wearing a pair of sunglasses and an exquisite black suit walked into a bar. He looked very tired. His body was full of wounds that hadn't healed yet. He almost tripped several times as he walked. But no one in the bar dared to provoke him. Quite a decent killing intent. He's a good fighter. A big problem. Don't mess with him. Everyone was whispering to each other. The young man walked straight up to the bar counter and greeted the bartender. "Give me a bottle of your best liquor. Also tell your boss to come out." His tone was calm as he flipped a coin in his hand. Seeing the coin in his hand, the bartender immediately poured him a glass of liquor and respectfully said, "Please wait a moment." The bartender took out a coin and put it on the table. The coin instantly disappeared and turned into a black curtain that completely covered the table where the young man was sitting. When the others saw this, they immediately understood what was going on and left the place. The young man turned a blind eye to the black curtain that shrouded him. He raised his glass and slowly drank from it. The bartender quickly left. A few moments later, a drunken fat man followed the bartender to the bar counter. As he walked, he listened to the bartender's description. When he heard the detailed description of the coin, he smiled brightly. He also walked into the curtain. The curtain had a very high level of concealment, making it impossible for the outside world to notice anything happening inside. Esteemed guest, your presence truly brings light to our humble establishment. Esteemed guest? The young man put the glass down and scowled. Your liquor is only 70% water. That's a bit too much, the fat bartender sincerely explained. Normally, we only give you poison, but seeing that you're a professional, we only give you fake liquor, and seeing that coin in your hand, we only give you real liquor. Then, how can I drink the real liquor? I'm sorry, but that would ruin the bar's reputation, so we definitely won't do that. That makes sense. The young man drank the watered wine in one gulp, and then slapped the coin in his hand on the table. This is the number 791 coin, a rare item. Check it first, he said. The fat boss smiled. He didn't seem to do anything, but the coin was already in his hand. He squinted his eyes and carefully examined the coin. Suddenly, he squeezed the coin hard. A series of ka-ka-ka-ka-ka sounds rang out. The coin turned into a silver pistol. The fat boss looked at the silver gun and said, "Number 791 coin, the assassin's gun. It really is the real deal." He reluctantly put the silver pistol back on the table. The pistol left the man's hand and quickly turned back into a coin. Indeed, this was number 791 of the 1001 coins of the Strife Zones, created by the gods. It could directly transform into a pistol with special abilities. The fat boss spoke with satisfaction. There's no mistake about it. This coin is extremely rare and valuable. You can now issue the mission. There's no hurry, the young man casually replied. I heard that in this world, all high-ranking assassination missions are issued by you, the fat boss nodded. Our service has always been the most professional, so we've always had a good reputation. That's good. The young man sighed in relief and continued. I want to put a bounty on a single person in the entire world of sin. As long as a hitman can kill him, they'll receive this coin in my hand, the fat boss carefully asked. Then what's the reward for our bar? According to your rules, it'll be deducted from this coin, the young man replied. The fat boss clapped his hands and smiled. Then there's no problem. Who do you want to kill? The young man replied. I want to kill a hitman, the fat boss praised. This quest is starting to be worthy of your coin. Please continue. The hitman's name is Jang Young-ho. A human, his height, weight, and appearance are exactly the same as me. The fat boss looked at the young man's appearance and said, I've memorized it very well. The mission will begin from, tomorrow morning, the young man said. We can issue a mission for you right away. That way, the guy called Jang Young-ho won't even see the sun tomorrow morning. The fat boss smiled and said, No. That won't do. I still want to drink tonight and have a good night's sleep. Only then will I be able to deal with the pursuit tomorrow. Saying so, the young man poured himself another glass of liquor and drank it all in one gulp. The fat boss' smile froze. An unbelievable truth was loitering in his mind, to the point where he couldn't hold it in anymore. Esteemed guest, you mean you're issuing a mission for all hitmen in this world to hunt you down? Jang Young-ho replied. You're not mistaken. I've been hungry for 5 whole days, he said to the bartender. Go to the restaurant outside and bring me a plate of fried rice with 5 eggs. After I'm done eating, bring me 2 bottles of the same wine. I'll sleep here tonight." The bartender glanced at the fat boss. The fat boss nodded. The bartender quickly left. The fat boss looked at Jang Young-ho like he was looking at a monster. He pointed at his head and asked, "Are you all right here?" Jang Young-ho shrugged. "As a veteran hitman with over 10 years of experience, I'm bound to have some mental issues, but I'm sure I'm not what you think." The fat boss's expression became even more curious. "Then why did you issue a mission to kill yourself? You should know that every hitman in this world will want to kill you and exchange your head for that coin." Jang Young-ho lit a cigarette, took a deep drag, and replied, "Because there are too many hitmen in this world, it will be a bit troublesome to go after them one by one. As you know, according to the rules of this industry, once you accept a mission, you can't give up unless the target is dead. So I decided to have them all come after me. That would be more convenient." "More convenient?" the fat boss doubtfully asked. "More convenient for me to kill them or be killed by them." Jang Young-ho smiled. The fat boss froze. He had always been a shrewd and experienced veteran, but at this moment, he felt like his brain had completely rusted. "Esteemed guest, I know I shouldn't ask too much, but if you answer me, I will provide you with the best guest room in this place for free," the fat boss said. "Free guest room? That's not bad. Ask away, why do you want to have all the hitmen in this world come after you? I've already traveled through 37 worlds, constantly exchanging pointers with other people of the same profession, improving my own level through heated exchanges." Jang Young-ho took a sip and continued. "This time will be no exception." The fat boss froze. "Let's go back in time. Several 10,000 years ago. The phantom images of the age of old." Gu Qingshan stood in the air with a hesitant expression. Kindling continued to advise her. "Your sword is right. Not to mention, once you ascend to a higher position, you will have countless demons and servants working for you. This isn't something worth risking your life for. When will I have subordinates?" Gu Qingshan asked. "When I enter Revolution, you're currently Kindling, about to evolve to Origin, then Revolution?" "Correct. All right, I won't enter the Eternal Abyss." Gu Qingshan sighed. "A wise decision," Kindling praised her. "Then, I trust that you've obtained enough soul points and life mysteries. Please evolve quickly. I need you to become stronger," Gu Qingshan said. Kindling didn't answer. Lines of dark red text kept appearing on the interface. "All conditions have been met. Evolution has officially begun. Kindling will temporarily enter a dormant state to complete this evolution." All the crimson text had been displayed. The entire Kindling UI disappeared from Gu Qingshan's sight. The Demon King Order had entered a dormant state. This was similar to what happened in Tree's Collection World. When the Order began to evolve, it would temporarily disappear from the demonized. At the time, Gu Qingshan also took that chance to turn the tables. Gu Qingshan stopped for a while. The Order didn't react at all. "Seems like it's really evolving. Very good. Now there's no one to nag at me anymore," Gu Qingshan muttered. He looked towards a distance. That was the direction of the ocean abyss. According to the Jade Gourd Pendant Adorable, the Lord of Total Distortion ship was heading in that direction. Gu Qingshan pondered a bit, then tapped her inventory bag to take out the Jade Gourd Pendant Adorable. "Woo-woo. What is it?" the gourd asked. "Take me to where they trade," Gu Qingshan said. "Woo-woo. Shio. Strange. Didn't you just say that you wouldn't enter the Eternal Abyss?" the gourd curiously asked. Gu Qingshan agreed. "I'm not going in. I'm just going to take a stroll outside. Woo-woo-woo. Is there a difference?" the gourd doubtfully asked. Gu Qingshan explained. "I have to understand the situation. Exploring and seeking knowledge is the best way to change one's fate. I need to see if there's any new information there." Chapter 896. The Sea Abyss was said to be an area of the ocean that could never be reached. All demonic sea creatures over 100 million years old lived here. Not only were they powerful, but they also relied on the advantage of the Sea Abyss to escape even if they couldn't defeat them, making them extremely hard to deal with. Gu Qingshan held a glowing triangular piece of metal in his hand as he dived deeper and deeper into the Sea Abyss. Ever since he entered the Sea Abyss, This triangular piece of metal seemed to have formed an inexplicable connection with a certain place. It was like a beacon, but also like a sensor that could transmit a certain location to Gu Qingshan's inner sight. Following the direction of the triangular piece of metal, Gu Qingshan swam all the way to a certain silent part of the ocean. When Gu Qingshan reached a certain location, the triangular piece of metal no longer responded. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to scan his surroundings, but couldn't find anything. However, his spiritual sense seemed to have sensed that something was wrong. Gu Qingshan reached his hand out and lightly touched something in front of him. There was only seawater in front of him, but he felt something cold and hard protrusion. It was a rock. Gu Qingshan grabbed the rock and continued to feel around. He quickly found the outline of a door. It was a closed stone door. Gu Qingshan pushed it. The stone door didn't budge. The sword didn't leave a single mark on the stone door. The frost didn't do anything either. Without any other choice, Gu Qingshan continued to search. After a while, he found a socket on the stone door, apparently used to insert a key. Without hesitation, Gu Qingshan inserted the triangular key of the ceiling into it. A heavy noise. The door finally opened. The triangular key was spat out by the door and fell back into Gu Qingshan's hand. Gu Qingshan entered the stone door. Bam! As soon as he entered, the stone door slammed shut behind him. Gu Qingshan glanced back, put the key of the ceiling away, and continued to swim forward. After a few dozen breaths worth of time, a flight of stairs appeared in front of him. The steps were buried under the water and went all the way up. Gu Qingshan swam up the stairs and finally emerged from the water. On the surface of the water, the straight steps continued to extend upwards. On both sides of the stairs were ancient mottled walls. When Gu Qingshan emerged from the water, the torches on the walls along the way were all lit up. The fire illuminated the path ahead, but the places that were not illuminated were still dark. Gu Qingshan held the frost staff in her left hand and the Chao Yin sword in her right, continuing to walk down the stairs. After a while, the road up began to smooth out. Gu Qingshan found himself in a tunnel with no end in sight. However, it wasn't exactly accurate to call it a tunnel, because the floor was covered with a red carpet. Gu Qingshan took a closer look and found that the carpet seemed to be a product of magic. Every time a dust fell on it, it would be cleaned up immediately. Even though so many years had passed and the entire passageway was extremely old, the color of the carpet was still as bright as new. This feeling was very strange, as if time had staggered. As soon as he entered this place, he couldn't use his inner sight either. There was a strange and powerful force that restricted his inner sight to a radius of a few meters around him, making it impossible for him to release it. Gu Qingshan could only use his eyes to observe his surroundings. He began to walk towards the end of the tunnel. A few minutes later, there was still no end to the path. Fortunately, there were a few things that appeared on both sides of the path that made Gu Qingshan more spirited. At first, there were only a few strangely shaped bones. Then, a series of damaged tables and chairs, broken copper and iron, and broken boots appeared one after another. All of these items were extremely old, but because the material they were made from was quite sturdy, these items still maintained their original shapes. It was obvious that countless years ago, humans had once lived here. Could it be that this tunnel was created by humans? To defend against the monsters of the eternal abyss, humanity built the Grand Tai Wei City Wall. But why did they build a secret tunnel that connects to the eternal abyss? Gu Qingshan looked around and continued to move forward. A few hours later, there was still no end to the tunnel. If Gu Qingshan was running at full speed, he might have traveled an even longer distance already. But he kept reminding himself, this is the tunnel to the eternal abyss, and I can't even release my inner sight. With that in mind, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but slow down. He patiently walked forward, occasionally stopping on both sides of the path to look at the things that were left behind from over 100 million years ago. Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust, as if no one had come here to check or touch them. In other words, the Lord of Total Distortion didn't care about these things at all. He brought the Black Finger with him, so he must have gone to find that monster. If the Lord of Total Distortion achieved his goal and wanted to return to the primordial Wraith realm, he would have to return through this tunnel again. At that time, the two of them would definitely run into each other. Guqing Shan shook his head, temporarily gave up on this thought, and continued to move forward. There wasn't anything special in this part of the tunnel, the only thing that proved that humans once lived here. From a logical point of view, it was still unknown what kind of entity created this tunnel. If it was humans who created this tunnel to the eternal abyss, then the Grand Tai Wei city walls wouldn't make sense. You can't risk your life to fight against an enemy while silently letting them in, unless there was some sort of unspeakable secret. In addition, there was another possibility. If the secret passage was not built by humans, then who built all of this? Guqing Shan couldn't help but mutter, "I really don't understand. Why would a gate to the eternal abyss be created in the ocean?" He looked at the triangular key in his hand. The key didn't react at all. Without any clues, he could only continue forward. Guqing Shan began his long and arduous journey. For several hours, he kept moving forward. Sometimes he would also stop to look at the trash on the side of the road, trying to find some clues. At a certain point, Guqing Shan stood still. In front of him, the tunnel was completely dark. There were torches hanging on the walls along the way, but at this point, there were no more torches. Guqing Shan turned around and took a torch from the wall, wanting to use it to illuminate the path ahead. But as soon as he entered the dark tunnel, the torch suddenly went out. Guqing Shan put the torch in front of himself to carefully check. There were no clues. Guqing Shan didn't believe it, so he went back, took another burning torch, and entered the dark tunnel again. This time, he moved forward for 1 minute. The torch went out again. Guqing Shan silently stood still for a while. This wasn't a coincidence. He crouched down, lightly placed the torch on the ground, stood up, and stood still. The Chaoing sword appeared in his hand. A short pause. Nothing happened. That's strange. While Guqing Shan was thinking, he suddenly felt a breeze brushing against his face. The breeze abruptly turned into an intense gust of wind. Guqing Shan stood still, then suddenly moved his body to the side and grabbed something in the wind. He caught something in his hand, taking a closer look, only to find that it was a piece of white bone. "This bone isn't right," he muttered. With a chef's intuition and years of experience, "This bone is very fresh. It hasn't been removed for too long. Why would there be white bones flying here from the tunnel?" A few moments later, the gust of wind disappeared. The tunnel became silent again. Guqing Shan thought for a few moments, stepped back, took another burning torch, and entered the dark tunnel again. He silently waited. A few moments later, a breeze came. The torch went out in an instant. Guqing Shan fell into thought. This breeze seemed to have some sort of magical power that could instantly extinguish the torch. While he was thinking, the wind became stronger and stronger, turning into a gust of wind again. A few more pieces of white bone came flying from the wind. Guqing Shan randomly picked one up. It was half a skull, the shape was ferocious, and didn't look human at all. He suddenly realized something. After the gust of wind calmed down, he quickly moved forward. Sure enough, a few thousand meters away, he found 5 sets of white bones. These skeletons seemed to have gone through some sort of torture and pain when they were alive. All of them were twisting and struggling with their mouths wide open. Guqing Shan walked around these skeletons and sensed the lingering evil and sinister power that still lingered within them. He finally understood. These were the remains of evil creatures. Not too long ago, sacrificial ritual took place here. Sacrificial rituals were a type of mystic-type power, completely different from summoning techniques. In summoning techniques, the summoner and the summoned reached an agreement through a contract. But sacrificial rituals weren't. They were a form of begging. Low-level beings paid a heavy price to beg super-advanced beings from other dimensions to help them. Guqing Shan was a bit confused. This is only a dark tunnel. Why would the Lord of Total Distortion sacrifice the lives and souls of 5 evil creatures? The breeze picked up again. The wind was getting stronger and stronger. The wind here was even more violent than the wind a few thousand meters away. Gu Qing-shan scowled. A sense of extreme danger welled up in his heart. Out of instinct, he tilted his head. At the very next moment, he found that his face was cut open by the wind. Blood immediately flowed out. How did this happen? I currently have the body of a divine king, the power of a paragon realm cultivator, and I'm wearing the black mist armor with a helmet that completely covers my face. But my face was cut by the wind. Gu Qing-shan realized. He abruptly retreated until he was quite a distance away from the skeletons. The wind here was much weaker. At this time, many more white bones flew past him. So that's why even a divine king couldn't handle it, let alone the Lord of Total Distortion. No wonder he wanted to sacrifice himself. Chapter 897. Gu Qing-shan stood in the dark passage and fell into thought. The intense wind was blowing at his body. In reality, the wind had already weakened to the point that it was extremely weak by the time it reached him. The further he went, the stronger the wind became, able to pierce through the black smog armor and harm the divine king's body. Gu Qing-shan understood that he couldn't go any further. If only Shanu was here. He sighed. In this dark passage, Shanu could use the 6 paths, great mountain swords, invincible thaumaturgy to move forward and see what was inside for me. As for the Lord of Total Distortion, he could sacrifice the lives and souls of his subordinates to temporarily gain more power and continue forward. Shanu isn't here, and I don't have any subordinates, so I can't sacrifice them, so I can only stop here. A few moments later, the wind stopped. Gu Qing-shan silently counted. When he reached 30, the wind started to blow again. 20 breaths. The wind stopped. Another 30 breaths. The wind started to blow again. The entire process was repeating itself in a regular pattern. A regular pattern? Could this be a fixed mechanism? I have 30 breaths to use. Can I make it through the dark passage in that time? The downside is that my inner sight can't leave my body too far, so ground shrink and shadow shift can't be used here. This wind can easily harm the divine king, so I wonder how powerful its source is. Perhaps I can't even make it through. That can't be right. There must be a way. Otherwise, the Lord of Total Distortion wouldn't have made so many preparations just to enter this place. Gu Qing-shan carefully thought about it. When the wind started to blow again, he tapped his inventory bag and took out the gourd Adorable. Can you steal this wind and use it? Gu Qing-shan asked with a glimmer of hope. Woo-woo. Woo-woo-woo. What do you mean steal? I never steal anything. The gourd angrily replied. Fine, I was wrong. Can you borrow or learn this wind? Gu Qing-shan corrected himself. The gourd Adorable twisted its body and hovered in the air, silently feeling the wind blowing through the passage. Woo-woo-woo-woo-woo-woo-woo-woo. It's actually possible. Strange. I shouldn't be able to use naturally occurring elemental phenomena. Adorable asked in confusion. Gu Qing-shan's heart sank. The gourd could borrow other people's skills. In other words, this wind had a history and was not naturally formed. If this gust of wind was some kind of spell, then there must be someone standing at the end of the dark passage, constantly casting it. This passageway had existed for who knew how many years. Could it be that there had always been someone at the end of the passageway, constantly casting spells? That didn't make sense. Gu Qing-shan looked at the pitch-black tunnel, and a strong sense of curiosity welled up in her heart. In the end, he decided to give it a try. Adorable. You can unleash your thaumaturgy 3 times in a row, right? Gu Qing-shan asked. The jade gourd pendant, Adorable replied. If I use 100 lanterns or borrow Qianquan 3 times in a row in a short period of time, I will turn into a gourd seed. Even if I grow it again, I can only use flawless jade for an hour. At that moment, the wind in the dark passage had just turned into the strongest gale. Gu Qing-shan was surrounded by a fierce wind. 3 times is enough. Hide behind me. Let's go, he immediately decided. The wind would only blow for a total of 20 breaths worth of time, so it was currently at its strongest. In the next 10 breaths worth of time, it would gradually weaken, and the wind would stop blowing for 30 breaths worth of time. Then from this point, I'll have 40 breaths worth of time. Gu Qing-shan's figure turned into a flash of lightning, flying through the dark passage as fast as she could. Sure enough, the wind slowly weakened until it stopped. 10 breaths worth of time were up. Gu Shan was running at full speed. An afterimage flashed through the dark tunnel and soon surpassed the sacrificial ground that they had encountered before. 30 breaths worth of time left. Time silently passed. Gu Shan remained silent and pushed the speed of a Paragon Realm cultivator to its limits. Finally, it was time. He still hadn't made it out of this long, dark passage. The wind picked up again. A gentle breeze blew past, bringing with it a sense of warmth. If someone who didn't know the truth felt this wind, they wouldn't be able to predict how terrifying it would become in just a few breaths worth of time. Xiao, do you want me to borrow the wind? The gourd adorable asked. No, the wind here isn't that strong. I should be able to deal with it, Gu Shan replied. Last time, it was because he didn't know anything that the wind cut his face. Now that he knew how strong the wind was, Gu Shan naturally had a few thoughts about it. The gourd's thaumaturgy was extremely precious, so unless it was absolutely necessary, he couldn't use it so easily. Gu Shan slowly crouched down and lay down. He was trying his best to stick his body to the wall of the passage, forming the smallest possible point of contact with the wind blowing from the front. Right after that, he began to unleash his technique. Thick layers of frost manifested from thin air, enveloping Gu Shan's body. These layers of frost formed a sharp, curved shell of ice that completely fused with the wall and enveloped Gu Shan. Since Gu Shan was sticking close to the wall and lying on the ground, only a small portion of the wind, blowing from the depths of the passage, managed to reach the shell of ice. Although the wind was getting stronger and stronger, the area of contact with the shell of ice was still very small. Furthermore, due to the perfect curved shell of ice, the wind was able to quickly pass through it. Of course, the wind was still very terrifying. The shell of ice was still being peeled away by the wind, and the rate at which it was peeling away was also increasing. As the shell of ice was about to be completely peeled away, Gu Shan acted. He was currently the god of frost and chill, so the frost produced by his full power frost techniques was extremely powerful. Very quickly, a new layer of ice manifested on the surface of his body. Under the intense wind, the shell of ice rapidly shrunk, then quickly returned to its original form under the support of Gu Shan's frost. After going back and forth a few times, the gale finally passed the strongest point and began to slowly weaken. Gu Shan had succeeded. As the wind grew weaker and weaker, he abruptly jumped up, broke through the shell of ice, and continued to fly forward. How impressive! It used up most of my power. Adorable, I'll have to rely on you the next time the wind blows, Gu Shan sighed, emotionally. Woo-woo. The jade gourd pendant adorable responded. Gu Shan gained another 30 breaths worth of time. He exerted all of his strength and continued to fly forward. At a certain point, dozens of skeletons flashed past him. Obviously, the Lord of Total Distortion couldn't go any further after reaching that point. He once again performed a sacrificial ritual. Gu Shan didn't have time to look at those skeletons, because in just 10 breaths worth of time, the terrifying wind would once again blow. Full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. Even though he was running as fast as he could. Even though he had already crossed an extremely long distance. There was still no end to the dark passage. 30 breaths worth of time passed. Within the dark passage, a light breeze slowly drifted by. Woo-woo. Me? The jade gourd pendant adorable asked. Gu Shan fell into thought for a split second. Regardless of who or what kind of entity was unleashing this technique, they shouldn't be a living being or sentient being. Because using wind to block the passage and unleashing spells without stopping was something that even the strongest of cultivators wouldn't be able to sustain for countless years. Or perhaps that entity had already surpassed the scope of my knowledge. But the gourd pendant adorable's ability allows me to borrow their skills. This is a mystic-type power that transcends strength. If I really do run into an extremely powerful enemy at the end of the passage, the only thing I can rely on is the gourd pendant adorable. I can't use it carelessly. Gu Shan drew her sword and slashed at the wall with all her might. Clang! A sharp, screeching sound of friction could be heard as sparks flew from the wall. Not good, the wall is too sturdy. That makes sense. If the wall wasn't this sturdy, how could it have stopped that kind of wind? Gu Shan gritted her teeth. Is there really no other way? The wind was getting stronger and stronger. At this place, she could already sense a certain sense of destruction within the wind. Although it wasn't the winds of chaotic tribulation, this wind still contained enough power to kill a divine king. Another cut appeared on Gu Shan's body. The cut on the black smog armor was sharp and smooth, as if it couldn't be blocked at all. Gu Shan didn't notice it at all and was quickly thinking, I can't wait any longer. Is there really no other way? Unfortunately, this wall is too sturdy. I can't even break it with my full strength. Wait a minute. Gu Shan suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He reached his hand into the void of space. A card that was emitting a dazzling red glow appeared in his hand. Rare item. True Crimson Demon Spear. Equipping this demon spear will prevent the user from equipping any other armor. This demon spear has the law property, absolute sharpness. Description: this was the first weapon created by the old gods to be able to harm themselves. Unstoppable. Gu Shan grabbed the card and flicked it. At the very next moment, a spear enveloped in boundless crimson light appeared from the void of space and was grasped in Gu Shan's hand. The armor on Gu Shan's body turned into a mass of black fog that quickly scattered with the wind. As soon as the demon spear appeared in his hand, the black smog armor broke apart. Gu Shan didn't care about that and roared in fury. The crimson light flickered again and again, cutting through everything as easily as tofu. A large hole was quickly cut through the wall. The wind had already become violent. The side of Gu Shan's body that was facing the wind was cut countless times, bleeding profusely. I can't wait any longer. Gu Shan wielded the true Crimson Demon Spear and leapt into the hole in the wall. For the sake of caution, he used a telekinesis to reseal the broken rocks at the entrance of the hole, then used the hardest layer of ice to make them as good as new. At this point, the wind had reached its peak. Ho! The gale let out a mournful howl, destroying everything in the dark tunnel. Chapter 898. Inside the wall. Gu Shan waited until the wind died down a bit before using the true Crimson Demon Spear to break open the wall. He leapt out and continued running along the seemingly endless dark passage. When there was no wind, there was no sound inside the dark passage, and time passed without a sound. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Finally, it was time for the wind to pick up again. This place was very far away from the entrance of the dark passage, so as soon as the wind picked up, it immediately became violent. Without any other choice, Gu Shan broke open the wall again and went inside. The intense wind continued to rage. The wind here had far surpassed anyone's imagination. The wind was like a tidal wave that could dictate the fate of a person. Enormous, heavy, and unstoppable. At some point, Gu Shan even felt like this wind was an advanced life form. Father, no. A faint sobbing could be heard coming from the depths of the passage, followed by desperate begging. All of a sudden, a furious roar resounded. Don't blame me. I have no other choice. This was the voice of the Lord of Total Distortion. Before Gu Shan could hear it clearly, the intense wind had already drowned out this voice, drowning it in the endless howling of the wind. It felt like a long time had passed. The wind finally calmed down. Gu Shan immediately broke open the wall and continued running forward. After 7 to 8 breaths worth of time, he saw 2 small skeletons. The evil will from an unknown space-time hadn't completely dispersed from the skeletons, so Gu Shan could still sense the supernatural presence of a supernatural life form that didn't belong to his knowledge during the sacrifice. The 2 skeletons silently knelt on the ground with their heads lowered, as if silently expressing their despair and sorrow. Gu Shan recalled the 2 young and cute fiend girls. Fine, he sighed, stopped, and put the 2 skeletons away. After doing that, he continued running forward. Calculating the time, 1 second before the wind picked up, Gu Shan swung the true Crimson Demon Spear, again, broke open the wall, and went inside. He used telekinesis, again to neatly pile up the rubble. The wind howled again. Gu Shan quietly stayed inside the wall, waiting for the wind to pass. He needed to repeat this process until the end of the road. Tick-tock. Gu Shan was startled. Why would there be the sound of water here? No, why did I hear it so clearly? Unless the sound of water droplets was closer than the wind. For a moment, Gu Shan forgot about the wind outside the wall and closed her eyes to listen quietly. Tick-tock. There was another sound. Gu Shan opened her eyes and knocked on the top of her head. It was empty. Gu Shan swung the true Crimson Demon Spear without hesitation and dug upwards. Sure enough, he easily dug a big hole. Gu Shan leapt up. He found himself on another path. There was no wind on the road. Gu Shan did not dare to be careless. She guarded the entrance of the cave and did not leave. She waited for a long time. There was still no wind. It seemed that this place was indeed safer. He breathed a sigh of relief and walked forward. Tick-tock. As soon as he took a step forward, something seemed to have been activated as a series of mechanical noises resounded around him. A cold and emotionless voice resounded from the darkness. Frowny face, begin examination. According to his vital signs, he is a human civilian, an older child. In accordance with wartime protection principles, the child is permitted to enter the abyssal jail for temporary refuge. Please do not move. You are being transported to a safe location. The voice disappeared. Hearing this voice, Gu Shan obediently stood still, not moving at all. This voice was the same as the one from the Taiwei city wall, so it was obviously some sort of identification device used by humanity. The only difference was that the other party called me a boy back then, but now it's an older child. Seems like I've grown up. A round disc manifested under Gu Shan's feet and carried him deeper into the darkness. This was a long flight. Perhaps it was because he was taking his identity as an older child into consideration. Coupled with the fact that the surroundings were completely dark, the round disc's flight was extremely stable. After an unknown amount of time, the flying speed finally slowed down. A voice resounded from the round disc frowny face, as this is your first time here. Let me remind you to pay attention to what's below. Gu Shan looked down. The darkness below slowly faded away. From afar, a transparent barrier began to appear. Through this barrier, he could clearly see what was happening below. Gu Shan was so shocked that he forgot to breathe. That's unbelievable. All he saw was a sharp black claw. This claw was like a vast expanse of land that filled his entire field of vision, so much so that he couldn't see what the owner of this claw looked like. It was possessing such a huge and limitless body. The round disc's introduction resounded in his ears' frowny face. As you can see, on the other side of the barrier is our human race's biological weapon, entrusted with the responsibility of managing the Wraith Realm, as well as the Warden of the Abyssal Passage. Gu Shan couldn't help but blurt out, "What exactly is it?" Hibernating Magic Dragon. Gu Shan froze. So this is Magic Dragon. It had been standing guard here all this time, currently in a deep slumber. At this point, the barrier separating the two sides began to tremble. A gust of wind was rising from below. An intense storm manifested from the black claw, forming visible black air currents that spread in every direction. Child, please be careful. The power on Magic Dragon's body is too great. Without an adult's guidance, you must not approach it no matter what. Otherwise, the tides of power emanating from its body alone would form air currents that would take away your life. Gu Shan froze again. So that's what it was. The wind that I had to desperately avoid even after transforming into a Paragon Realm Divine King. The wind that the Lord of Total Distortion had to sacrifice all of his subordinates, and even his daughter, in order to resist was nothing but air currents formed from the energy waves emanating from Magic Dragon's body. This is completely inconceivable, completely incomprehensible. Gu Shan closed his eyes, paused for a bit, and tried to calm himself down. I want to ask, what is Magic Dragon doing here? He asked. The round disc replied, it is guarding the Abyssal Fate Weaver. The Abyssal Fate Weaver? Gu Qingshan instinctively repeated that. This was the second abyssal entity that he had heard of other than the Soul Shrieker. Indeed, the Abyssal Fate Weaver is an abyssal monster that far surpasses our imagination, capable of capturing and devouring human souls. It would then infuse its split soul into a human's body, using the identity of a human to blend into their civilization, turning the entire civilization into its delicacy. It had once acted against humanity. Indeed, it had taken control of many high-ranking human leaders, even secretly constructed several secret paths that led into the abyss. Fortunately, we were able to discover it. All the paths have been sealed up again. The Abyssal Fate Weaver was also killed by us in this secret path. Gu Qingshan was confused. Then what is Magic Dragon still guarding here? The Abyssal Fate Weaver's corpse. We humans cannot revive after we die. But this monster's unique characteristic is that it is immortal, able to revive after a certain amount of time. Gu Qingshan recalled that black finger. Perhaps the Lord of Total Distortion's soul had already been devoured by the Abyssal Fate Weaver when a lava cathedral was salvaged from the depths of the abyss. The current Lord of Total Distortion was actually the Abyssal Fate Weaver. It sold out the entire evil creature race in order to obtain the key to this place. It's coming to save me. Oh no. Chapter 899. Following Gu Qingshan's explanation, the darkness around him began to change. The cold mechanical voice resounded. Frowny face discovered abyssal passageway key. Within the endless darkness, a beam of light descended from above and struck the triangular key. The triangular key began to give off a sizzling noise. The authenticity of the key has been confirmed. Verified relevant information. Confirmed incident's authenticity. A screen appeared in front of Gu Qingshan. The Lord of Total Distortion was standing in front of a large metal gate, pushing it with all his might. The gate rumbled. The mechanical voice resounded again. Incident confirmed. After analyzing the situation, it is confirmed that the threat level of this incident is severe. Summoning Magic Dragon's spirit to deal with the situation, the mechanical voice disappeared. On the screen, the Lord of Total Distortion had already pushed open the gate. He burst into a burst of sharp laughter, crossed the gate, and danced as he walked, as if he was celebrating something. The Lord of Total Distortion's appearance was that of a middle-aged man with a dignified presence, but he was continuously performing various seductive dance moves, making him appear indescribably eerie. He stepped into the endless darkness of the gate. At the same time, the cold mechanical voice resounded again. Frowny-faced Magic Dragon's spirit has received information and is currently on his way. Incident handling commencing. Following this voice, a new situation appeared on the screen. Howling winds manifested out of thin air, blocking the Lord of Total Distortion's path forward. How regretful. There's actually another gate on the other side that you can't release yourself from. The howling winds slowly manifested into the shape of a person. Magic Dragon, the Lord of Total Distortion screamed. His voice had turned completely feminine. It's me. I'm sorry, but I'll have to ruin your plans again. The figure appeared from the darkness. He had a pair of sharp black horns on his head and a beard. He appeared to be quite old, but his eyes were still sharp and spirited. His body was muscular and wore a long black coat. This was Magic Dragon's soul. His body was still asleep, but his soul had temporarily appeared to block the Lord of Total Distortion's path. How pitiful. You actually found such a weak devil as a vessel. In this case, I don't even need to wake up. I can kill you with my soul alone. Magic Dragon seemed to be very regretful. He shook his head slightly, causing the pair of long black horns on his head to shake as well. The Lord of Total Distortion opened his mouth to speak in a sharp female voice that sounded like a sharp blade piercing through the air. You damned watchdog. If it weren't for the human clan's prison, you wouldn't have been able to trap me. That's the truth, Magic Dragon admitted. He used one hand to gently stroke the ring on his other hand, which seemed to be his subconscious action. He wore a ring on each of his fingers. Some of the rings were emitting a dim golden glow, while others were flickering with a faint dark purple glow. There were also some exceptionally luxurious rings that were completely inlaid with colorful jewels. It could be seen that these rings were extremely precious treasures. "Let me go. We'll have nothing to do with each other from now on." The Lord of Total Distortion stared straight at Magic Dragon and said. Magic Dragon stopped fiddling with his ring. "Do you think I'll believe you? It's very rare for us to meet each other. Don't you have anything more important to say?" He asked impatiently. You've been guarding this place for over 100 million years. I know that you also want to break free from your shackles and obtain freedom, the Lord of Total Distortion replied. "Fate Weaver, you don't have anything that can tempt me," Magic Dragon replied. "As long as you let me go, you won't need to guard this place anymore," the Lord of Total Distortion replied. Magic Dragon silently listened, then suddenly chuckled. "That's your condition? How boring. I get to eat and sleep in this place, and every few 100,000 years, I can even obtain a chance to evolve by devouring the power of my bloodline kin. I'm already stronger than you, stronger than me." The Lord of Total Distortion showed a mocking expression. "Magic Dragon, humans have given you shallow knowledge, but you've been fooled by this knowledge to the point that you can't understand a certain principle." "What principle?" Magic Dragon asked. "The world is infinite. The things that humans know are nothing but a drop in the ocean of the infinite world. No matter how hard they try, they would never be able to understand the truth that surpasses all existences. But they killed you," Magic Dragon calmly replied. "They only happened to take advantage of the moment when I was at my weakest after going through 5 intense battles and used everything they had to destroy my body," the Lord of Total Distortion smirked triumphantly. "Pitiful human, you don't even understand what eternal is, and you animal also don't know how to truly deal with me. I only need to trap you, saying so." Magic Dragon lightly tapped the Lord of Total Distortion's body from afar. Bam! A clear cracking sound. The Lord of Total Distortion's body was directly shattered into a puddle of blood and flesh. But the blood and flesh didn't scatter. Instead, they gathered in the air again, swirling about to form the shape of a woman. But Magic Dragon didn't give his opponent that chance. He opened his mouth and breathed out a cluster of faint blue flames. The flames flew forward, came into contact with the blood, and began to burn. A shrill female voice resounded from within the flames. "Despicable Magic Dragon, don't fall into my hands, or I will cut you to pieces." The flames burned everything to ash. The female voice faded away. Magic Dragon no longer paid attention to this and turned back to the screen. His gaze passed through all obstacles and directly fell on Guqin Shan. "A human? How rare. Thank you for reminding me and resolving the danger here," Magic Dragon said. "You're welcome. I only found out about this by accident," Guqin Shan replied. Magic Dragon continued. "I want to reward you properly. Perhaps you don't know, but the entire Wraith Realm is under my management. I can take any treasure of the Wraith Realm from my own collection at any time." "How impressive," Guqin Shan praised. Magic Dragon thought for a bit, then continued. "How about this? According to the urgency of the situation, as well as your contribution, I have 3 supreme treasures of the Wraith Realm for you to choose from. But you can only choose one of them as your reward this time." "This humble one doesn't deserve it," Guqin Shan replied. "No, this is what you deserve. Come and take it," Magic Dragon said. "But I don't know how to get to where you are," Guqin Shan said. Magic Dragon smiled. "That's easy. You only need to command that disc and tell it that you need to get to where I am." "That sounds very simple." Guqin Shan also smiled. "It is indeed very simple," the Mystic Dragon said again. They looked at each other with smiles on their faces. But Guqin Shan didn't move. Magic Dragon curiously asked, "What is it?" While saying so, he was fiddling with the ring on his finger. Guqin Shan stared closely at Magic Dragon and said, "There's another unique situation that I think you need to know about." "Unique situation?" Magic Dragon froze. "Indeed, this situation is enough to threaten both the Primordial Heaven Realm and Wraith Realm. If it continues, both worlds will be destroyed," Guqin Shan replied. Magic Dragon glanced at Guqin Shan in surprise. Magic Dragon stopped fiddling with the ring on his finger and casually said, Go on, Gu Shan continued. The Soul Shrieker is currently trying to take over the primordial heaven realm. Using humanity's power to create a type of weapon, Gu Shan then told him the truth of the matter. The demon dragon listened quietly, a thoughtful look on his face. So that's what happened. How unexpected. What should I do now? He muttered in a low voice. A few moments of silence. Your information is very valuable. Please come to me to choose your prize right away. Then I will follow you to the primordial heaven realm, Magic Dragon said. You really intend to go to the primordial heaven realm? Gu Shan appeared glad and asked. Magic Dragon replied with a serious expression. Of course, this is something I cannot refuse. I will not sit by and watch as the divine race and the desolate race are manipulated by the abyssal monsters to destroy the remaining humanity. That's good, Gu Shan nodded. Despite saying that, he still didn't move, nor did he give any orders to the disc at his feet. Magic Dragon stared at him without saying anything else. Chapter 900. A white thread coiled around Magic Dragon's neck. Magic Dragon had a mocking expression on his face and muttered, You want to pull me away with a single finger? He tore off the thread, dashed into the darkness, and pulled out a gigantic black finger. Gu Shan took a closer look. Indeed, this was the same black finger that the lava cathedral was suppressing. Why did it attack you? Gu Shan curiously asked. Magic Dragon explained. It was provoking me so that I could destroy it. As long as I destroy this finger, it will be reborn on its body, which will be the same as helping its body regrow a new finger. I see. Then what should I do with this finger? Gu Shan asked. I can only seal it temporarily, Magic Dragon replied. He then pressed the black finger on the ground. The gigantic finger slowly sank down and disappeared without a trace. Magic Dragon stood up and asked, Very well, child, everything has been dealt with. Why don't you come and choose your treasure? Child, seems like Magic Dragon's evaluation system is the same as the bygone era. It's fine, I don't really want anything. Gu Shan waved her hand dismissively. Why not? Magic Dragon was confused. I never want candy from strangers. Gu Shan matched his tone and answered. Child, it's fine, it's completely free. I swear, Magic Dragon tried his best to make his voice sound gentle. I just received a notification. A child without an adult can't get close to you, Gu Shan told him. Magic Dragon observed Gu Shan with a strange gaze and muttered in confusion. You were able to arrive here by yourself? Take that key and disguise yourself as some sort of trash soul artifact. This far surpasses many powerful evil creatures. And here I thought you weren't a stubborn person who follows the rules. You don't have to provoke me. A child like me hasn't reached puberty yet, so I still think that my life is more important than rebellion. Gu Shan shrugged. Magic Dragon went silent for a moment before he said, If that's the case, then it's too much of a pity, because you won't be able to obtain treasures, and you'll only be able to obtain the simplest gifts. I don't need any gifts. If it's possible, I'll be leaving now, Gu Shan said. The disc beneath his feet asked, Can you send me out? Of course, the abyssal jail isn't exactly a safe place. According to the law protecting minors, I will be sending you directly to the primordial heaven realm. Do you want to leave now? The round disc asked. Gu Shan looked at Magic Dragon. Magic Dragon stared at him and kept his mouth shut. Well, Magic Dragon really didn't say anything. He didn't stop them, nor did he try to promote his gift. Gu Shan thought for a bit and said, Not for now. I'll have to stay here. Magic Dragon abruptly roared in anger, roared as he charged towards the screen and threw a punch at Gu Shan. The void of space began to warp. Countless ripples spread out in every direction like a torrential downpour hitting the surface of a lake. Gu Shan was completely unharmed. Tisich, I thought you'd be able to endure it a bit longer, he regretfully said. The mystic dragon looked at him with a gloomy expression and asked, You already knew? Gu Shan replied, It was too easy. The advantage of being strong is that you don't have to worry about what others think. I'm guessing that after the bygone era ended, you were already the strongest power in the Wraith realm. So you've gotten used to not hiding anything like what? Magic Dragon asked. Like you're hoping for a deal that's worth a lot. Unfortunately, the Abyssal Fate Weaver doesn't have that kind of mindset. It believed that letting you go is the greatest mercy it can offer, although this mercy might also be nothing more than a lie, Gu Shan explained. I didn't think you'd be so much smarter than that monster. Unfortunately, you don't have any value to make a deal with Magic Dragon commented. Gu Shan puffed out her chest. Although I'm still a child, I still have a certain amount of experience in society. When you try to probe the Abyssal Fate Weaver's strength, I naturally noticed Gu Shan looked at Magic Dragon with a complicated expression. You're hoping for the Abyssal Fate Weaver to give you enough benefits. In other words, you're craving the power of the Abyss. Magic Dragon stared closely at Gu Shan and uttered a few words after a while. A genius child, I'm actually very confused as a human weapon. Why would you want to obtain the other party's power? Gu Shan asked. Magic Dragon mocked. Even an ant wants to hear the thunder in the sky. An ant is no threat. They only fear great power, Gu Shan calmly replied. Magic Dragon sighed. The world has changed. Humanity can't even win against me right now. And after the Abyssal Fate Weaver took control of the demonic sea creatures, it has already begun to research evil creatures. What do you want me to do? Evil creatures. Gu Shan muses. Evil creatures are the source of your power. Once the Abyssal Fate Weaver takes control of an evil creature's soul, your Magic Dragon bloodline would no longer be able to be activated. Your power would no longer be able to evolve. You wouldn't even be able to replenish your energy. So you began to research the Abyss? That's right. I also want to live, Magic Dragon replied. Then why do you want to kill me? Gu Shan asked. Magic Dragon suddenly shouted. I hate you humans. Gu Shan shook her head. Just now, when I was choosing whether or not to leave, you were still able to control your emotions, but after I stayed, you were clearly disappointed and even tried to attack me. Truthfully, I'm just an ant. What can I do even if I stay? Gu Shan paused briefly before continuing. Unless I can actually affect you, but my power is so weak. Seems like it has nothing to do with power, Gu Shan abruptly asked. Could it be that you're afraid of my identity? Magic Dragon had been silently listening until now, but his expression suddenly changed. If you dare to do anything unnecessary, I'll release the Abyssal Fate Weaver and we'll all die together, he shouted in a low voice. Gu Shan smiled amicably and replied, Truthfully, the two of us can easily form an alliance. It'll be mutually beneficial. There's no need for us to die together. You won't bring me any benefits. Magic Dragon replied. You really won't? Think about it carefully, Gu Shan asked. The Mystic Dragon looked at his sincere face, and the anger in his heart subsided a little. Benefits. This place is an abyssal monster jail designed by humanity, so the true authority is still in the hands of humanity. Although this human is weak, he definitely can't be underestimated. There's no need to tell him too much. I only need him to do that thing. The Mystic Dragon said, You do have a place where you can help me. Please tell me. I'll definitely do it if I can, Gu Shan replied. I need you to give me a command. Gu Shan was full of doubt. I'm only a normal child. I probably won't be able to do that. No, after the bygone era ended. No one has ever come here. So the AI's rules have been lowered to the minimum. The only requirement is that you must be human. Gu Shan nodded thoughtfully. Magic Dragon warned her. I suggest that you don't try anything funny. I've already remembered you. As long as you do anything out of the ordinary, I'll destroy this place with everything I have. Gu Shan smiled. How about the information? As a magic dragon, Gu Shan slowly explained. Not only are you powerful, you're also very smart and cautious. You can even release the Abyssal Fate Weaver at any time. The you of this world has already awoken and remembered me. We're both wary of each other. This kind of relationship is too boring. How about we start over again? What do you mean? Magic Dragon asked in confusion. What I mean is, I intend to come back without you knowing. Magic Dragon stared at him as if he was looking at a mental patient. Goodbye, I'm going to see the other you. Gu Shan tapped the disc. Chapter 901. The Primordial Heaven Realm. A screen of light flashed. Gu Shan appeared. He appeared in the air above a deserted mountain peak. After releasing a flame talisman to notify the others, Gu Shan began to think about everything that happened before. The Abyssal Fate Weaver was slowly devouring the entire primordial Wraith realm. The magic dragon was no longer willing to listen to humanity's orders and restraints, nor did he intend to return to the primordial heaven realm to save humanity. From his conversation with the Abyssal Fate Weaver, as well as his actions of leaving that black finger behind, it was clear that he only wanted to obtain the power of the abyss from the Abyssal Fate Weaver. Gu Shan suddenly recalled something. Those who fight against the evil dragon will eventually become the evil dragon. Those who approach the abyss will also become a part of the abyss. This was the Earth Sword's words. I didn't pay it much attention at the time. Who knew? Even the Demon King Order would repeat it. Looking at Magic Dragon's current appearance, Gu Shan suspected that it would eventually become the Abyssal Dragon. Then what about me? Gu Shan silently asked in return. If I don't do anything, the Earth Sword will die. Everything will be irreversible. With that in mind, he didn't hesitate at all. If worst comes to worst, I won't fight against the evil dragon. I'll just talk to it, Gu Shan muttered. At this point, several streaks of light came from the horizon and quickly arrived in front of them. The god of frost and chill. The figure of light. Luo Bingley. How's the progress? The figure of light asked first. Not bad. The order is currently evolving, Gu Shan replied. The figure of light sensed it for a bit and was pleased. So, if it's true, this rate of evolution is quite shocking. I'm starting to feel a bit more confident. What should we do now? My jade warp butterfly has been created, Luo Bingley asked. We won't go to the place that humanity arranged for us for now. We need to leave this world as soon as possible. As for why, I'll tell you later, Gu Shan replied. The figure of light looked at the god of frost and chill. For him to say something like that, there must be a reason behind it. We will listen to him, the god of frost and chill said. If there's no other way, we can always return. Gu Shan looked at the figure of light and said, Any phantom image will do, the figure of light asked. Gu Shan glanced at Luo Bingley. Don't worry about me. I have a secret technique. I won't be replaced by the other me in time. Luo Bingley transmitted her voice to him. Gu Shan felt slightly relieved. Luo Bingley actually had such a secret technique that allowed her to not be affected by the law of time. In fact, what Gu Shan was most worried about was the appearance of two identical people in the same timeline. In that case, the law of time might directly erase one of them to ensure that the entire time and space would not be chaotic. Since Luo Bingley had such a secret technique, the only one to consider was the god of frost and chill. Can you teach me? I want the ice deity to be able to do this as well, Gu Shan sent her voice. Luo Bingley sternly replied. I can't. This technique can only be used by me alone, and the timeline can only hold a single person at the same time. One more won't do. Gu Shan could only give up. The god of frost and chill that I and Shanu are playing is a fake. If the real god of frost and chill appears at the same time, and both of them are fine, the figure of light would definitely be suspicious. Then no, not just any phantom image, Gu Shan told the figure of light. We need to go to the period of time after the Second Great War of Humanity. During the First War, the previous divine king died, and the god of frost and chill succeeded. During the Second War, the god of frost and chill died, and the strength god succeeded. This was the opportunity for the god of frost and chill to awaken after hearing about his fate of death from the golden flame divinity. Why? The figure of light asked. In that timeline, the god of frost and chill is already dead. So if we go to that timeline, we won't be erased by the law of time, just because two ice deities exist at the same time. Furthermore, if I remember correctly, the next divinity to succeed the divine king is the strength god. He's a bit weaker than the ice deity. So if we can't convince him, we can just use force finally. The resurrected god of frost and chill would appear in front of the divinities. That would be the most convincing proof of our identity. The figure of light silently listened, then turned to the divine king. What does your majesty think? Shanu appeared to be seriously considering it, then sighed emotionally. This king has no objections. This is the best arrangement. Furthermore, I regret that Gu Qing Shan isn't a member of our divine race. The figure of light nodded in agreement. Then let us go. He took out a coin and threw it up. The coin spun a few times in the air, then abruptly shattered into countless sprites of light that enveloped the entire sky. Gu Qing Shan, the god of frost and chill, Luo Bingli, and the figure of light disappeared from this world. Time slowly passed. About half a day later, the void of space opened. A burly man with a pair of black horns on his head slowly walked out from the void of space. I'm always so nervous. He looked around with an extremely solemn expression. There's no human defense system for minors here. I can capture that guy and interrogate him. The only thing I need to be careful of is that my body is still in slumber, and the soul shrieker is the bane of my soul. So I have to be careful not to draw its attention. The spirit of the magic dragon began to investigate the primordial heaven realm. Within the fog of the void, countless fragments of light floated around in a disorderly manner. A replay of a certain era was cut off, for blurred figures directly entered it. The primordial heaven realm. On a desolate hill, Gu Qing Shan's voice resounded. What point in time are we currently at? The figure of light closed his eyes and sensed for a bit, then replied, We are currently at the point in time where the Second War had just ended, and the Strength God had just ascended to become the new divine. King Shinu cleared her throat and solemnly spoke. Let us go. We're going to meet them. We still need the help of the entire divine race here. Then let us go, the figure of light said. Gu Qing Shan suddenly waved her hand to signal everyone not to leave yet. Wait a moment. The order is reloading. When they heard this, they stayed where they were and waited. In Gu Qing Shan's vision, a red UI slowly manifested. Blood-red lines of text appeared one after another. Evolution has been successful. World's Apocalypse Online. Origin has officially launched. The blood-red lines of text stopped for a bit. Then a few more lines of text appeared. I am very glad to see that Your Excellency is safe and sound. It seems Your Excellency listened to my advice and didn't enter the place that connects to the abyss. Gu Qing Shan's expression didn't change at all. I said I wouldn't go in, so I really won't, but that might not be the case in the future. Furthermore, you've already evolved into Origin. Do you not have any new functions? Blood-red lines of text quickly appeared on the UI. Frowny face, the current evolution shall now be explained to Your Excellency, following the will of the Envoy of Condemnation. The Order has repositioned the function of Origin. Please select the corresponding mode. Mode 1. Normal mode. In this mode, the Order will gradually open up various functions and integrate them into the card center, finally forming a basic card function platform. Mode 2. Breakthrough mode. In this mode, the Order's main mission will be to continue evolving. Only after evolving into Revolution will an important function be open for Your Excellency, Gu Qing Shan asked. Of course I'll choose the second mode, but what important function are you talking about? Origin replied. During the Revolution phase, the Order will search for various ancient corpses from the world's Apocalypse Online. As comprehensive junkyard, sewing them into biological weapons that can be used in war, codenamed Demon Lord. Primary summoning weapon type 1. Your Excellency, I will convert the exchangeable primary Demon Lords into cards for you to exchange. Gu Qing Shan nodded and pondered. Primary summoning weapon. So those Demon Lords were the most basic of weapons. Gu Qing Shan's gaze fell onto the Origin UI. The long slot that represented soul points was still full, followed by a line of numbers. Frowny face soul points. 971-0000. After killing so many powerful demonic sea creatures, my soul points have finally reached a point where I can use them as much as I want. Origin, now that I have so much soul points, can you continue to evolve? Gu Qing Shan asked. In principle, I need to complete a quest in order to activate the corresponding sequence of evolution, Origin replied. Then what are you waiting for? Issue the quest. Preparing the quest, Sha. A new quest was created on the Blood UI. Quest name, Evolve Young Man. Quest description. This is the moment of frenzied evolution for the sake of becoming a Demon King. Carriers of Order. They're too weak, are unable to control various biological weapons. You must constantly increase your strength to prove that you have the potential to become a Demon King. Quest objective: become a 3,000 worlds realm cultivator. Quest reward: immediately activate the Order's evolution sequence. Reading through these descriptions, Gu Shan chuckled. I wanted you to evolve quickly, but you also wanted me to quickly become stronger. Of course, Your Excellency. You must quickly become stronger, otherwise those biological weapons might backfire on you. Origin replied, I remember I can use soul points to evolve right now. Correct. Gu Shan glanced at his full soul points bar. He told the god of frost and chill, the figure of light, and Luo Bingli. I'm afraid everyone will have to wait a bit longer. The Order needs me to quickly break through and activate its evolution sequence. That's a serious matter. You may begin. We'll stand guard for you, the god of frost and chill said. The figure of light also added, Indeed, among the 3 coins, the Demon King Order, as power cannot be neglected, you must do this well. Then I'll begin, Gu Shan said. Luo Bingli looked at him and nodded. The 3 of them scattered at the same time, going in 3 different directions to make space for Gu Shan. As Gu Shan released his inner sight, he saw that they had each found a place to stand guard. He didn't wait any longer and spoke to the Origin. UI frowny face breakthrough, a line of glowing text appeared on the Origin UI. You've chosen a breakthrough. The soul points bar below the lapis card, Sword Cultivator Gu Shan, began to burn. Blood red text appeared one after another. 700,000 soul points have been consumed. You are about to break through. Attention, as you are a cultivator, you will face the fire and water tribulation this time. After the countdown, you will face the tribulation. 5, 4, 1. All the text on the blood-red UI disappeared. A small flame appeared from the void of space and lightly fell on Gu Shan's body. Chapter 902. The so-called flame tribulation was to guide a cultivator's soul vessel to a certain heaven realm. A cultivator has to return their soul vessel to their body within a certain amount of time. Once the time is up and the soul vessel is stuck in a certain heaven realm, the cultivator's body will be burnt to ashes by the flame tribulation. Gu Shan stood still and waited. A near-transparent flame manifested from thin air and enveloped him. The endless flame spread, forming a scene of a world in front of Gu Shan. Mahasvara realm, Gu Shan muttered. Ji Luo definitely didn't expect to return to the Mahasvara realm so soon after I left. When I broke through to Void Wanderer realm, I left the Mahasvara realm right after I passed the flame tribulation, so I didn't have time to worry about Ji Luo's safety. But she came to the Mahasvara realm a long time ago and made a lot of preparations. On top of clear Crystal Peak, Ji Luo built an Azura palace, arranged layers upon layers of barriers and traps in the underground tunnel that led to the mountain. Not to mention, Ji Luo was originally a daughter of Azura, so she was well-versed in various combat techniques. She herself had said that the reason why she was able to enter the Mahasvara realm, obtain a mountain of her own, find a spring water to face the flame tribulation, as well as make all sorts of preparations and protective measures was all because she had a lot of karma points. The only thing she had to worry about was that she was too weak. While thinking, Gu Shan took a step forward. In an instant, he entered the Mahasvara realm. Sounds of voices around him. The sound of drinking, chatting, the entire courtyard was noisy, just like the last time Gu Shan came. A voice resounded in Gu Shan's ears. Ah, a new friend has arrived today. The voice suddenly stopped. Gradually, the voices in the courtyard faded away. All the cultivators turned to Gu Shan. It's him, that person. He's here again, strange. That can't be right. We didn't catch him last time. He had only broken through to Void Wanderer realm not too long ago. This is, the cultivators discussed among themselves. Gu Shan ignored them, recalled the location of Ji Luo's mountain, then prepared to fly there. He leaped into the air and prepared to leave. This time, the cultivators couldn't take it anymore. Since you're here, you still want to leave? Someone shouted loudly. This cultivator's speed was extremely fast. In a flash, he was already in midair, chasing after Gu Shan. Gu Shan didn't turn around. In his sea of consciousness, 700 flying swords suddenly flew out and released sword radiance towards that cultivator. Secret art, water flow severance. 700 streams of water slashed out at the same time. The cultivator didn't even have time to react before he was erased by the magnificent sword radiance. Bang! The deafening sound of sword-light bombardment swept across the sky, whistling into the distance. Just like that, the soul of a cultivator in the heavenly realm was destroyed. He killed fellow Taoist Wang. Damn it, this guy must die. Let's attack. In the courtyard, the cultivators loudly shouted. However, most of the cultivators did not dare to chase after him. In order to avoid the pain and impermanence of cultivation, they had stayed here in an attempt to enjoy the blessings of 10,000 years. Just now, one of their companions was easily killed by him, so they had all seen how terrifying this sword cultivator was. Who else would dare to go up and die like that? 7 or 8 of the most powerful cultivators gathered together. Seems like he really did break through to Void Wanderer Realm. If that's the case, the rest of you don't need to go up. Numbers are meaningless. Next up, we'll act. The rest of you quickly invite the other combatants who don't know about this. They flew up, surrounding Gu Qingshan in the middle. Gu Qingshan looked around. Originally, she wanted to show her might with a single strike to scare these people away from bothering her, but they still dared to come. However, these cultivators were much stronger than normal cultivators. As Gu Qingshan carefully sensed their spirit energy waves, she slowly understood. A cultivator had to face a total of 3 fire tribulations: the wind and fire tribulations of Void Beholder to Void Wanderer, the fire and water tribulations of Void Wanderer to Void Revolution, and the earth, water, fire, and wind tribulations of Void Revolution to 3,000 worlds. In other words, cultivators who were stuck at the Mahesvara realm were divided into Void Beholder realm, Void Wanderer realm, and Void Revolution realm. As a sword cultivator, Gu Qingshan's fighting prowess was much stronger than normal cultivators, so no one dared to provoke her. Because of that, these cultivators who dared to come up were at least at the same realm as her. They were all Void Wanderer and Void Revolution realm cultivators. Thinking about it this way, the reason why I was able to safely break through the fire tribulation last time was because Ji Luo had already prepared for it. When she brought me away, no one stopped her. This also meant that she had gained their trust long ago and had made many preparations. Otherwise, I would have had to face a very dangerous battle at the time. That was a true tribulation of life and death. Gu Qingshan felt a bit emotional. But why did they insist on keeping me here? There were explanations for cultivators going through the fire tribulation in various cultivation methods. However, cultivators would be drawn to various heavenly realms during the fire tribulation, so it would take more than 3 days and 3 nights to describe all the things they would experience. The Mahesvara realm was only one of the countless heavenly realms, so the number of cultivators who came here was limited, and even fewer who succeeded in breaking through. And of those who did, very few were able to find out the secret behind the Mahesvara realm. It would already be a miracle if they could return alive. Because of that, there weren't many records about the Mahesvara realm in the scriptures, and there weren't any particularly trustworthy explanations. Gu Qingshan looked around. These people are only one realm higher than me, but they dare to stop me. Gu Qingshan spoke. I find it very strange. We don't know each other and have no grudges against each other. So why do you insist on stopping me for facing my tribulation? Could it be that you can't bear to see someone else achieve their realm? The cultivators exchanged glances. One of them smiled. I can't tell you that. Another spoke. Since you're already here, then stay. Don't force us to fight. That's right, if we fight, it won't look good on either side. After all, we'll still need to get along. A third person spoke up. Gu Qingshan smiled. You don't seem to understand something, he said. What is it? Someone asked. Those who block the path of a sword cultivator should prepare to die. He disappeared, reappeared in front of a cultivator, and swung his sword forward. The cultivator's expression changed, but his hand didn't slow down. A small shield appeared out of nowhere, wanting to stop Gu Qingshan's sword. Ki! With a resounding noise, the shield stopped the sword. But when the sword and the shield clashed, a sword light suddenly appeared behind the cultivator and directly cut him in half. Secret art, Swallow returns. One strike to kill a person. Gu Qingshan disappeared again, reappearing in front of another cultivator. But that cultivator reacted quickly, retreating several feet away from the sword's attack range. The cultivator also sighed in relief and loudly warned, "Be careful. He knows a spatial movement technique." His voice stopped abruptly. Gu Qingshan's sword continued to slash forward, killing him from several dozen meters away. Secret art, Life Seeker. When you're within 10 feet of an enemy, you can slash them from afar. It was still a sword strike, and it still killed a person. The other cultivators felt their hearts tremble. The first Void Wanderer Realm cultivator was killed before he could even react. The second cultivator was a Void Revolution Realm cultivator. He managed to react, but was still killed. Chapter 903. In just 2 clashes, the cultivators had lost 2 of their comrades. The remaining cultivators quickly gathered together and carefully distanced themselves from Gu Qingshan. One of them called out, "His swordsmanship is too terrifying. It seems we'll need Old Man Chung to personally come to deal with him." At this point, a loud noise came from below. Everyone looked down to see that an old man had arrived at the courtyard. "It's Old Man Chung. Good, Old Man Chung is here. There should be no more problems now." The cultivators were glad. Gu Qingshan followed their gazes and saw that the old man had a head full of white hair and a long smoking pipe in his hand. Was this person the strongest among them? Gu Qingshan stared closely at the old man. The old man squinted his eyes and cautiously looked at Gu Qingshan. The old man spoke. "Brat, you!" Dash's expression suddenly changed as his hands quickly formed a hand seal. In an instant, Gu Qingshan's eyes glowed with sword chi. True soul-severing eyes. The old man abruptly disappeared, dragged into the void of space by Gu Qingshan's eye technique, and slashed with her sword. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Not dead? Quite impressive, Gu Qingshan muttered. The old man flashed and reappeared where he stood, still a bit shaken. He wasn't injured at all. To be able to remain unscathed even after Gu Qingshan's sudden attack, the old man's strength was quite impressive. Sword eye? What a rare technique. Your swordsmanship clearly hasn't reached that level yet, but you've already thought of a way to restrain the power of your flying sword. The old man flew up and hovered in front of Gu Qingshan. Seeing how Gu Qingshan held her sword tightly, the old man smiled instead. The old man's tone changed. "Unfortunately, your thaumaturgy can't hurt me. I can use the power of the 5 Void Revolution Realm cultivators here to temporarily boost my strength to 3,000 Worlds Realm." Gu Qingshan asked, "If you really have a 3,000 Worlds Realm cultivator, why didn't you kill me?" 3,000 Worlds Realm was the realm of people like Xie Guhong, while Gu Qingshan was currently only at Void Wanderer Realm, 2 realms apart from 3,000 Worlds Realm, so she wouldn't be a match for him in a real fight. The old man said calmly, "It doesn't matter if I tell you. This is my defensive ability. I can borrow the power of 5 people, but there are strict rules and restrictions. I can only defend and not attack. In other words, I can't do anything to you, and you can't do anything to me," Gu Qingshan said. "That's right. That's why you have to make a choice," said the old man. "What choice?" "Miss Ji Luo's life and death." Gu Qingshan remained silent for a while, and a murderous aura surged out from her body. 700 long swords appeared from the void behind him, emitting a buzzing sound. "Are you threatening me?" Gu Qingshan asked in a low voice. "I'm not. I'm simply stating a fact." The old man paused, then continued. "Although the mountains of the Masra realm are sturdy and Ji Luo has many defensive measures, there will always be a day when her mountain will be destroyed by us, and she will be killed by us. There will always be a day when... Seems like Ji Luo will be fine for now." Gu Qingshan relaxed a bit. "I thought you wouldn't kill anyone who stays here," he said. The old man replied, "She's weak, but she has a mountain of her own in this place, arranged numerous defensive measures on top of that, and even thought of a way to help you successfully face your tribulation. From my rough calculations, she has already used up most of her karma. That's why you can kill her without any qualms? Gu Shan asked. Indeed, that's one thing, but more importantly, you still care about her, so as long as you don't leave, we can promise you that we won't kill her. The old man squinted his eyes and grinned like a cunning and cruel wolf. I want to kill you right now, Gu Shan muttered. The old man shook his head and purposely sighed. You won't be able to kill me. My thaumaturgy can last for about an hour. During this time, you will either fail to face your tribulation or leave this place. You won't be able to wait for my thaumaturgy to end. Young man, it's time for you to make your decision. As long as you're willing to stay and save her, I guarantee that you will be able to live a life like a deity with her from now on. But if you decide to face your tribulation and leave, you'll have to wait for her to die in our hands. Gu Shan seriously listened to him without saying anything. The old man pridefully continued. She once helped you face a fire tribulation, so I'm guessing that your relationship must be quite good. So do you want her to die? Or do you want to stay with her for a long time? Gu Shan suddenly said, when she ran out of karma, you decided to kill her. But on the other hand, when she had karma, you didn't want to kill her. So her karma is actually quite useful to you. You want to obtain karma, don't you? The old man glared at him. Gu Shan continued. Since you want karma so much, it means that karma is a good thing in this world. Similarly, if I stay here, you'll also be able to obtain new karma. That's why you're using such a disgusting method to keep me here, because you're after my karma. The old man went silent briefly. Not too far behind him, the cultivators all appeared surprised. This brat is a monster, one of them muttered. The old man regained his composure and looked straight into Gu Shan's eyes. Regardless of what kind of person you are on the outside, in this place, you only have a single choice, to stay and save her or to live on your own. Gu Shan couldn't help but sigh. He already didn't intend to find Ji Luo. Time was limited. Not only did he have to face these cultivators, he also had to face his fire tribulation. Activate! Gu Shan lightly shouted. 700 flying swords spread out from his back, surrounding him and forming a tight, defensive sword formation. These flying swords were connected to his mind. Wielding the Chao Yin sword, Gu Shan fell into a daze. He began to face his tribulation in front of everyone here. The cultivators exchanged glances. So he's a cruel and unscrupulous bastard. No wonder his cultivation progressed so quickly, someone commented. Poor big sis Ji Luo. She did so much for him, but this guy doesn't care about her at all, a female cultivator commented. She couldn't help but cast a spell at Gu Shan. As soon as the spell entered the range of the sword array, it was stopped by a flying sword. Clang! A clear sound. The flying sword was knocked away, and the spell also disappeared. Gu Shan abruptly opened his eyes. He seemed to be a bit scared and glad, then thanked the female cultivator. Thank you, saying so. He closed his eyes again and began to face his tribulation. The female cultivator froze. Thank me? Thank me for what? At this point, the old man's voice came. Everyone, don't attack him anymore, because his flying sword is connected to his mind. Any movement will wake him up. Everyone was enlightened. To put it bluntly, the fire tribulation is actually an illusion of despair. When a cultivator is inside an illusion, they'll be alerted by the flying sword outside and realize that it's an illusion. That's basically helping him escape from the illusion. This brat, even at a time like this, he's still thinking of using us to break the illusion of the fire tribulation. Someone couldn't help but exclaim. That's why I told all of you not to attack. Right now, we can only hope that he dies in the illusion, the old man shouted. Everyone fell silent. At a time like this, he's still thinking of using an enemy. This is truly unbelievable. What a terrifying guy. Time slowly passed. Gu Shan's figure slowly disappeared from this world. He managed to survive the fire tribulation just like that. The cultivators looked at each other and saw the intense hatred in each other's eyes. What a cold-blooded sword cultivator, someone sighed. Only someone as heartless as him will be able to break through the fire tribulation, someone angrily said. The old man and the other great cultivators all had grim expressions as they gathered to discuss what to do next. In the end, they made their decision. The group of cultivators flew towards Ji Luo's clear crystal peak. Time passed. Explosions resounded all over clear crystal peak. The cultivators unleashed a barrage of attacks on the mountain. It would take at least a few dozen days to completely destroy this mountain, but the cultivators didn't intend to do that. They decided that after killing Ji Luo, they'd take over this mountain. About half an hour later, a miraculous sensation suddenly appeared in the world. The cultivators all stopped. Everyone had joyful expressions as they looked at the old man. The world has sensed it ahead of time. A few more cultivators will come to face their fire tribulation. What a good day today, the old man smiled. That's right. Seems like we're destined to get some merit today. That's right, that guy just now was a demon in human skin. No need to pay attention to him. As long as the people who come this time are a bit more normal, we'll definitely be able to keep him here. That's right, the cultivators all smiled in agreement. Let's go, we'll come back for this mountain later. Old man, Chung waved his hand. Under his lead, the cultivators all returned the way they came. They once again returned to the courtyard, silently waiting for the newcomer to arrive. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. A screen of flame appeared. A figure could clearly be seen inside the flame. The old man gestured with his hand. All the cultivators began to enjoy themselves. A cultivator walked in front of the screen of flame, waited until the figure had almost fully appeared, then spoke. "Ah, a new Tao seeker has arrived today, everyone." His voice suddenly stopped. The figure had fully appeared. Gu Qing Shan. It was still Gu Qing Shan. "Why is it still you?" The cultivator couldn't help but exclaim. Gu Qing Shan replied, "That's right, it's still me." He stood there without moving. His flying swords had already spread out to surround the entire courtyard. All the cultivators who were pretending to be enjoying themselves froze. They all understood one thing. A cultivator would have to face a total of 3 fire tribulations in their life, respectively Void Beholder Realm, Void Wanderer Realm, and Void Revolution Realm. After just half an hour, this person's aura had already reached Void Revolution Realm. In other words, he's here to break through to 3,000 Worlds Realm. How inconceivable was that? "Why?" the old man asked in a hoarse voice. "It's just a pill. I don't know if you've ever heard of a Realm Breaker pill," Gu Qing Shan casually replied. "A Realm Breaker pill. A legendary treasure." He actually had such a good item. The cultivators were all speechless, not knowing what to say. Gu Qing Shan looked at the old man, then carefully sensed the old man's spirit energy waves. The old man's thaumaturgy has ended. It shouldn't be too hard now. He was wielding the Chao Yin sword. The old man looked at Gu Qing Shan, seemingly also stunned. If he wants to use his thaumaturgy again, he'll need to rest a bit more. But now that he's standing in front of me again, even after using his thaumaturgy, he's only 1 realm lower than me. Thanks to his swordsmanship, as well as his Void Revolution realm spirit energy, the power of his swordsmanship has increased to a terrifying degree. Even if I can break through to 3,000 Worlds Realm again, he could easily break through my defenses and kill me. Not to mention, my thaumaturgy can only be used for defense, not offense. The old man quickly understood this point, and the murderous intent on his face gradually disappeared. Chapter 904. Let's rewind time a bit. When the old man asked Gu Qing Shan to make a choice between facing his tribulation and Ji Luo. Without hesitation, Gu Qing Shan chose to face his tribulation. Under the protection of the sword array, he successfully passed the fire tribulation and left the Mahesvara realm. The old man led the cultivators to destroy the mountain. But Gu Qing Shan was already heading towards the water tribulation. Among the 4 saint pillars of earth, water, fire, and wind and fire represented destruction and extinction, while earth and water represented birth and growth. Because of this, the water tribulation's goal wasn't to destroy a cultivator's life. It was a kind of ever-changing and unknown tribulation. Gu Qing Shan was moving through the countless faint lights. At a certain point, these faint lights combined to form a bright light that illuminated the entire world. Gu Qing Shan suddenly found himself standing on a boundless stretch of water. There were no living beings in this world. The surface of the water was as smooth as a mirror, reflecting the entire silver sky, as well as the only existence underneath. Gu Qing Shan. A few moments later, a stream of water rose from the surface of the water, slowly elongated, changed, and finally formed another Gu Qing Shan's appearance. The two Gu Qing Shans stood facing each other without moving. All of a sudden, one of the Gu Qing Shan's expression became spirited. He curiously looked at the other side and asked, "You me from the other world?" "That's right," Gu Qing Shan replied. "It seems your soul has arrived. According to the rules of the water tribulation, what happens today won't cause you any real damage. So you can do your best." The other Gu Qing Shan appeared emotional. "So in a parallel world, my main profession was a sword cultivator," Gu Qing Shan tried asking. "What about you? I don't see any killing intent from you. So it's been a while since you last fought?" The other Gu Qing Shan generously admitted, "That's right, I'm a #1 spirit chef in this world. Of course, I'm also a sword cultivator, but I don't have the same sharp sword will that you do. Why is that? The children like my cooking." As Gu Qing Shan spoke, a gentle expression appeared on her face. Gu Qing Shan was stunned. "What? I even have a child in a parallel world? Who did you marry?" He couldn't help but ask. "Su Cher," said Gu Qing Shan. "What about Anna?" "Anna? There isn't a woman named Anna around me." "Then how did you end up with Su Cher?" The end of the world came, the sky fell, and the earth cracked. A strange virus spread among everyone. 3/5 of the world's population died, and the remaining 2/5 obtained the opportunity to enter the world of cultivation. I wandered the world of cultivation together with Su Cher. Later on, we joined a sect together, cultivated together, and finally got married. Her family didn't stop her. Unfortunately, the 9 lords are all dead," Gu Qing Shan laughed. Gu Qing Shan was startled, then hesitantly asked, "Then, you didn't encounter any demons or anything?" "What kind of thing are demons?" "There were no demons." "Do you have an order?" "Ah, we do have an order. What kind of order is it?" "World's Apocalypse Online. Sanctuary." Gu Qing Shan was speechless. So that was a completely different world. Even the first order that appeared was different. Wait a minute. Why was the first order to awaken in this space-time was the Demon King order? Just look at him. He's the first sanctuary. As soon as he heard that, looking at how relaxed he was, Gu Qing Shan didn't want to ask any more questions. There really is no harm if there's no comparison. He said, "All right, now that you're the examiner, what do you want to compete with me on?" "Why would I want to compete with myself?" That Gu Qing Shan smiled. Gu Qing Shan also smiled and said, "The meaning of the water tribulation is to allow cultivators to understand the mysteries of the world, to understand that outside of the infinite space-time, there are countless parallel worlds. So you must give me a test of some sort before you can return to your world from here. Then I'll give you a test." Saying so, that Gu Qing Shan waved his hand to take out a lot of cooking utensils and began to cook a fish. A few moments later, his fish was done. "Come, try it," that Gu Qing Shan said. Gu Qing Shan's presence froze. Competing in cooking? He let go of his sword, took out a bowl and chopsticks, and began to taste it. The taste is quite good. Your control of the heat is very good," Gu Qing Shan praised as he ate. "This is one of my best dishes. If you can reach 70% of my standard, you pass," that Gu Qing Shan said. He put a fresh fish on the chopping board. Gu Qing Shan put down his bowl, rolled up his sleeves, and began to carefully prepare the fish. After fusing so many worlds together, he obtained a large number of cultivation scriptures, including quite a few of the 6 art scriptures, so he's already mastered them. After returning to Shunwu World, he also exchanged his experiences with Qin Shaolu, which allowed him to reach a higher level of proficiency. The food and refreshments that he prepared for the people of Baihua sect were all praised by everyone. Recently, he even learned a few methods to prepare seafood from the evil creatures. So this test shouldn't be a problem at all. A few moments later, his fish was done. That Gu Qing Shan walked up with interest, took a pair of chopsticks, and put a piece into his mouth. "Not bad. It's even better than what I made," he praised. As soon as he said so, his figure slowly faded away, finally disappearing from this mirror-smooth body of water. The first examiner left. Gu Qingshan began to eat his fish. He was waiting for the second visitor from a parallel world. A few moments later, another mass of water turned into another Gu Qingshan, appearing in front of Gu Qingshan. A test of myself? It was a strange dream. This new Gu Qingshan said. He looked extremely haggard, as if he had gone through a lot of hardship. You look very tired. Did you run into any problems? Gu Qingshan asked. I'm fine, but I'm going to participate in the sex competition next month, and I haven't even qualified yet, the other Gu Qingshan replied. As Gu Qingshan stared at him, he noticed something. The other party was even younger than he looked, and from his tone and demeanor, the other party seemed immature, as if he hadn't been reborn. In other words, he was the real me when I was younger. Gu Qingshan was a bit surprised. Swordsmanship? With our understanding of swordsmanship, you and I shouldn't be troubled by something like this, the young Gu Qingshan replied. I've always been alone. I don't have any backing, so I have to fight for all cultivation resources by myself. That's why I started much later than others, and I still haven't gotten a good sword manual. Gu Qingshan fell silent. He really is the same as me in the past life. He took out a new inventory bag from his thoughts C, then recorded all of his swordsmanship knowledge into a jade tag. After that, he gave the new inventory bag to the other party. What is this? Wait a minute. Why are there so many sword manuals? There's even a sword array. The young Gu Qingshan scanned it with his inner sight and exclaimed, This is a very large jade tag. Memorize the contents inside first, Gu Qingshan told him. The young Gu Qingshan didn't hesitate and quickly closed his eyes to memorize. A few moments later, he opened his eyes. Do you remember it? I remember it all. Gu Qingshan waved his hand and took the inventory bag back. You can't take it with you. It'll only bring you trouble, he explained. The young Gu Qingshan was surprised. I understand. I'll make sure to hide myself from the rest of my cultivation. His eyes were filled with excitement and longing, as if he could already imagine his future achievements. That's right. Now help me complete this test, Gu Qingshan said. The young Gu Qingshan regained his senses. He thought for a bit, then drew his sword. We're going to fight. As long as you don't lose, you'll pass my test. Very well, Gu Qingshan replied. He also drew his sword. The two figures collided directly. A sword phantom flashed. Gu Qingshan pulled his sword back and took a step back. The young Gu Qingshan stood still and sighed. So I can actually train my swordsmanship to this level. Hundreds of slashes appeared on his chest. But these slashes only cut through his clothes and didn't harm his body at all. The young Gu Qingshan's figure slowly turned transparent. It sounds strange to say thank you, because you are me and I am you. It's just that we're in different space-time, the young Gu Qingshan said. Regardless, I've been through what you've been through. I hope you can live a better life than I did back then, Gu Qingshan said. The young Gu Qingshan nodded and smiled at Gu Qingshan. I will become the strongest sword cultivator. The next moment, his figure completely disappeared. Gu Qingshan continued to wait. At the Void Revolution realm, one would have to face 3 versions of themselves from parallel worlds. Now that 2 had passed, there was only 1 left. Moments later, a stream of water turned into Gu Qingshan's appearance and reappeared on the surface of the water. TSK. There are other tribulations aside from the lightning tribulation. I've never heard of such a mysterious matter, right? What level of cultivation do I have to reach to face the water tribulation? The other Gu Qingshan curiously asked. When advancing to the Samsara realm, you'll need to face the water tribulation, Gu Qingshan said. What is Samsara realm? Qi training, foundation establishment, golden core, rejuvenation, ascended, sainted projection, tribulation, virtualized, cryptic, chaotic star, origin return, radiant soul, void beholder, 90 void wanderer, 800 void revolution, 3,000 worlds, paragon realm, Yama king, Mahesvara king, Sumru lord realm. These are the realms that I know of. Hearing that, the other Gu Qingshan was stunned for a long while. Gu Qingshan asked in return, From your spirit energy waves, I can tell that you're already at ascended realm. Why don't you continue to break through? The other Gu Qing Shan replied. After the Spirit Beast Rebellion, all the demons disappeared, so we've decided to seal off the demon warp gate, making it impossible for their world to communicate with us this time. It was Gu Qing Shan's turn to be stunned. In another parallel world, humanity sealed off the warp gate that connected to Shenwu world. From then on, humanity obtained peace. As for what happened after that, most of it happened in the mainstream worlds of the 900 million world layers. The cultivation world and my home world were scattered worlds that were outside of the 900 million world layers, so they obtained peace. This was truly unexpected. Since then, there haven't been any more disasters in your world or the cultivation world? Gu Qing Shan asked. No, the other Gu Qing Shan replied. Gu Qing Shan sighed and said, You're too lucky. From your cultivation, I can already see that. The other Gu Qing Shan paused briefly, then continued. That's why my request for you is that you tell me everything you know. That way, you'll pass my test, the other Gu Qing Shan said. I can, without hesitation. Gu Qing Shan told her everything she could. The other Gu Qing Shan fell into thought. Gu Qing Shan then gave the other party the inventory bag. This is the large-size jade tag. You need to memorize the contents inside and cultivate well when you return. Chapter 905. The Green Mountain hovered in the sky. From afar, a streak of light was flying towards them, hovering outside the mountain by itself. Gu Qing Shan appeared. He looked at the mountain and silently sensed the great power of this mountain. A flower, a grass, a leaf, a stone. It seemed to be autumn in the Mahesvara realm. Autumn had washed over this mountain. The leaves on the trees were fluttering in the wind, creating a mesmerizing scene. Every inch of this mountain was filled with an indescribable great power. As a Void Revolution realm cultivator, Gu Qing Shan could clearly sense this power, but he couldn't understand what it was. He casually picked up a flying leaf. The withered leaf slowly faded away. So, this is merit? He muttered doubtfully. Ji Luo's voice came from the mountain. That's right, because I participated in saving the Samsara world and played a huge role in it. I was able to use this merit to manifest this mountain. Gu Qing Shan looked at the holes on the mountain and quickly realized what was going on. These were the marks left behind by the cultivator's attacks. Using merit to negate those attacks, the effects were reflected in the withered trees and leaves on this mountain. Ji Luo, you can come out now. Those people won't come to destroy this mountain again, Gu Qing Shan told her. Where did they go? Ji Luo asked. They decided to go to another world to tell jokes. So, they left just now? Gu Qing Shan replied. You're really impressive to be able to break through again in such a short amount of time. Ji Luo praised him. I wasn't that fast. It was mainly because of the pills. That's your karma, right? I just remembered something important. What is it? I can't get out. Gu Qing Shan was stunned. Ji Luo spoke in annoyance. At the time, I was afraid that someone would disturb you during your tribulation, so I sealed off the entire mountain, so I can't get out now. Then what do I do to open this mountain? Gu Qing Shan asked. There's no other way. Unless you attack for a few dozen days like they did, Ji Luo replied. Gu Qing Shan was stunned again. He suddenly realized that he would not be able to see the other party this time. The fire tribulation wouldn't let him stay here for too long. He couldn't blast open the mountain in such a short time. Even if he couldn't do that, because this mountain was Ji Luo's karma. Now, Gu Qing Shan had to seize the time to cross the tribulation and return as soon as possible. If he was too late, the tribulation fire would burn his body to ashes. Ji Luo had obviously realized this as well. Now, at this moment, he could only say a few words to her across the mountain before bidding farewell. Hurry up and face your tribulation. I will cultivate here while waiting for you, she advised. Gu Qing Shan was a little hesitant. She pondered and said, Is there anyone else who can threaten your safety? How many cultivators did you kill? Ji Luo asked. 701. Ji Luo happily said, That's great. There's no one else in this world besides me. Gu Qing Shan found it strange. She asked, Since this is the Mahesvara realm, why are there so few people here? Is there no Mahesvara king in this realm? Jiluo replied. The Mahesvara king of this place had already passed away, so this place is basically an ownerless land. Those cultivators, they're trapped here. Only karma can increase their lifespan. Otherwise, they will die right away. Gu Qingshan was surprised. No wonder those cultivators wanted to keep me here no matter what. No wonder they wanted to use Ji Luo's life to threaten me. He hurriedly said, Then I gathered my karma to form this mountain. Before this mountain collapses, I will be able to live well. Have they tried to steal your karma before? I would always reward them with a bit of karma, depending on my mood, so they wouldn't dare to do anything rash. After all, if I really didn't want to stay here anymore, they wouldn't be able to keep me here. I would be able to reincarnate right away. I could choose whichever world I want to go to, but that way I would forget about you. Gu Qingshan sighed. You've sacrificed too much for me, so you would have to suffer a lot, which isn't a good thing for you. Ji Luo's laughter resounded from the mountain. That's right. You've even started to consider for my sake. I really wasn't wrong about you. Her tone suddenly became solemn and dignified. Qingshan, do you see the leaves on the mountain that have been blown away by the wind? As a woman of the Azura race, I've always known that my life is the same as these leaves, that sooner or later I will die in battle. This is the fate of our race, but I've already died once, and I've met you in hell. This is a stroke of luck that has nothing to do with battle. I've gone through countless tough battles. I've also wandered around the edge of life and death for a very long time. So for me, waiting for something like this is nothing more than a negligible sacrifice. I will continue to wait until you come here to take me away. Gu Qingshan went silent for a bit. It was said that the women of the Azura race were peerless in beauty and temperament. Once they've chosen a person, they wouldn't change their mind. Even if they couldn't be together in the end, they wouldn't fall in love with a second person. However, this was only a rumor, so Gu Qingshan didn't really care about it before. But now that he's personally experienced this feeling, he naturally felt a different feeling. He landed on the mountain and hit a jade tag under a rock. This is all of the Azura race's combat experience and skills that I've obtained. After you come out, cultivate it well, Gu Qingshan told him. Why do I have to cultivate well? Ji Luo's voice was a bit tense. Gu Qingshan smiled and said, From now on, you'll have to fight by my side. It's not good if you're too weak. Saying so, he closed his eyes. He's been stuck in this world for too long, and there wasn't much time left. Gu Qingshan could already feel the shadow of death looming over him. I have to face my tribulation now. Gu Qingshan's mind moved. Immediately, endless flames enveloped him, and all kinds of despairing illusions enveloped him, vowing to destroy his will. Gu Qingshan focused all of his attention on dealing with the illusions. A few moments later, the flames disappeared. He also disappeared from this world along with the flames. Take care. This was the only thing he left behind in the wind. The entire Mahesvara realm fell into silence. No more heavenly beings came and went. No more sounds of toasting. The world was silent. Only in the belly of a certain mountain, a beautiful woman was sitting cross-legged with a smile on her face. Ji Luo. When she wasn't fighting, she actually looked more elegant and dignified than most women. How troublesome. You're so strong. How am I supposed to catch up to your footsteps? She scowled for a long while before she relaxed. It seems the only way is she cut her finger and began to draw a mystical pattern on her face with her blood. This was the Azura race's ancestral pattern that had been passed down since ancient times, one that couldn't be casually used. In the age of old, after the samsara collapsed, the various worlds were broken into countless fragments that couldn't be gathered together again. Only the warlike Azura race managed to use a unique technique to manifest this world resonance technique. Once this technique was used, an Azura would have to abandon their birth, clan, family, authority, and everything else in order to travel to the Azura's samsara ruins. That was the ultimate Azura's eternal war, epic city. In that place, all of the Azura's inheritances would be complete. Every Azura who went there would quickly grow stronger. Of course, that place was also the most dangerous place. A single misstep would result in death. There was only a single rule there: become stronger or die. After Ji Luo finished preparing the summoning technique, she slowly stood up and wielded a short blade in each hand. A few moments later, the void of space began to ripple like water, slowly drifting back and forth. A blood-red sunset appeared out of nowhere, almost like an illusion that didn't exist in the first place. Ji Luo stared closely at the illusion and took a deep breath. "I have to become stronger," Ji Luo muttered in a low voice, as if trying to motivate herself. "Even if I take a step back with so many of his dependents in the future, if I'm too weak, wouldn't I be bullied everywhere I go? That won't do. More importantly," she quickly stepped into the illusion and spoke with a resounding voice. "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."